Good morning and welcome to the Mike Graham Show. It is, of course, Monday, the 2nd of February at 7 o'clock, and we are ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's rock and roll because we've got an awful lot to cover. We are going to be here for the next 5 days from 7 till 9:30. The extra half an hour has been added in since the start of last week, and we're very happy with it because it means that our numbers have gone even higher last week than they were before that. So welcome to the real home of common sense, and let us get it on. There's a poll out today already. We'll tell you all about it. It's who's the sleaziest person in Britain. It might not surprise you to know that Peter Mandelson's currently leading, but if you're on the chat, it's Peter Mandelson, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, Hugh Edwards and Matt Hancock. I mean, it's a pretty ghastly foursome, it has to be said. Emma Wolf is here with us. Emma, very good morning to you.
Morning.
Imagine being in a car with those four.
Oh my goodness.
Going off to a wedding or something. You know, you get in a car at the station and there's Hugh Edwards in the front. You know, in the two middle seats, you've got Andrew and Peter Mandelson. You have to get in the back of the bus with Matt Hancock.
Well, as long as they've got to keep their clothes on. I mean, Mandelson's underpants, I'm still, reeling from that.
That is traumatic.
I can never unsee that image.
No, that is really traumatic. The Mail has got quite a good spread on Mandelson, where apparently he has now resigned, according to them. Their front page says, disgraced Mandelson quits Labour. And there's the picture. An undated picture appears to show Lord Mandelson, is the caption. And I mean, if you haven't seen it...
Basically, seems to be, he's kind of signing for something. There's a young lady, again, her face blacked out. She's sort of in a hotel bathrobe.
Yeah.
He's signing for something, room service or something in another expensive hotel. The whole thing is so sleazy. And I know what people say, well, no one has admitted any wrongdoing.
Yeah.
Look, we've now got 3 million more emails and messages and images floating around. I mean, to say that some of these men are not guilty, paying people off to the tune of 10, 12 million pounds.
Well, they're guilty of something, aren't they?
Guilty of something.
Right. I mean, according to this piece in the Mail, Peter Mandelson resigned from the Labour Party last night to avoid causing, in quotes, further embarrassment over his links to convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Bombshell documents from a trove of more than 3 million files released by the US Department of Justice on Friday reveal the astonishing influence that Epstein held over Lord Mandelson.
Well, and also, Mike, I think the fact that he has resigned now from the Labour Party means that he knows a lot more is to come out.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody's thinking,
I mean,
isn't it?
that's
because
what
we
they
saw at the weekend that terrible picture of Andrew leaning over the body of what looks like an unconscious woman. I don't know if she's conscious or not, but she's lying on her back on the floor. Exactly,
and the fact that the King Charles took action a few months ago in terms of stripping Andrew of his titles, what was an indication that they knew a lot of this was coming out. And I think there is worse to come. Can we just remember, before you go on, but can we just remember that Andrew is still living at Royal Lodge, at the taxpayer's expense,
guarded by royal security,
in a 30-room estate, while he waits for Sandringham, for his new home in Sandringham, to be renovated. I mean...
again, at the cost to the taxpayer, presumably.
This is the King's brother, exactly. I just think, honestly, I think these men need to be, especially Andrew. I mean, Mandelson is a private individual, but Andrew needs to be...
You say he's a private individual, but he's got a pension which he'll be collecting from
he's a Lord.
The European Union.
Yeah.
He'll have a pension that he's getting from being an MP. Yeah. He'll have his Lord's fees that he picks up. He's now no longer a Labour peer, but so presumably he's an independent peer.
Well, I think he needs to be stripped of that peerage because I think it discredits the role of being a Lord in the House of Lords.
But you know what's weird about the House of Lords? The House of Lords, you cannot strip people from being Lords once they've been made Lords, even if they've committed a criminal offence.
You say that? You cannot. Yes, you can.
Well, it's never been done as far as we know.
But look at the behaviour of these men. It's absolutely disgusting.
And of course, the problem is you then get into a situation where you go, well, if nothing's been proven and it's just all a bit sleazy, yes, you would be forced to resign from, say, a cabinet position. But is it possible to take away somebody's livelihood if they require a livelihood, indeed, at that sort of age that Mandelson is? I'm not defending it.
No,
I'm just saying that there will be people who will say, hang on a minute, you can't just suddenly start stripping things from people when nothing's actually been proven against them.
No, I know. And the same with Andrew. Just think of his livelihood. He doesn't have a livelihood. He's never worked a day, really, in his life.
He really hasn't.
And what can one do? Literally dump him in a council estate in Wigan? Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what he needs.
Yeah,
he needs to be put...
That'd be a good show, wouldn't it?
But somewhere where he pays his rent and he and Sarah Ferguson go out and do a day's work. Put him in a...
Absolutely
brilliant
right.
show.
So the stories this morning in the papers, in the Times, new Epstein victim, I was sent for sex with Andrew. It was pointed out to me this morning when I was listening to something on the way in. There's no surety of this at the moment. There's a statement from a woman says that she was sent to London to have sex with him in one of the royal palaces. It might be true, it might not be true, we don't know. Andrew, new Epstein legal threat. The problem is if she gets a decent American lawyer and he comes after Andrew for either compensation or something, he hasn't got any money now. So if he has to go to his brother, the king, to ask for money to pay off another woman, like he did with his own mother, where the Queen gave him a bunch of money to pay off a woman who was suing him, suddenly then the royal family are involved.
Well, I think we're on the verge of a constitutional crisis. It won't happen. It's a bit like the kind of Starmer crisis. It doesn't happen. They somehow ride it out. But, I mean, how does this look, Mike? Think about how this looks to the outside world. Right? The United Kingdom. This isn't some, like, minor royal. This is the king's younger brother. And this is the Queen's beloved son, the Queen of England's son. And did you see those photos of him, as you say, straddling or on all fours beside a woman? I mean, these photos are absolutely damning.
I know.
And if it was one, we've all done silly things in our past. If it was one inappropriate relationship with a 20-something, but there is now so much evidence, emails,
I'm pretty
messages,
sure I've never been pictured on all fours leaning over a woman who looks to be unconscious.
Well, that's what I mean. And, we don't know for certain that some of them were underage or anything like that. And as you say, he still denies all wrongdoing.
Yeah.
But
how about this?
The evidence is overwhelming.
Lord Manderson, this is in The Sun, Lord Manderson resigned his Labour Party membership last night to spare further embarrassment over claims he accepted $75,000 from Jeffrey Epstein. Manderson said he was taking the step in order to look into the allegation he had profited from his links. This is the language they use. He's going to investigate whether he profited from his links. Well, he knows very well whether he profited.
He knows exactly what he did.
He knows exactly what he did. He was on BBC Breakfast, wasn't he? Laura Kunsberg's show.
A few weeks ago.
2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Apparently claiming that there was nothing else to come out.
Why on earth was he on Laura Kunsberg, and why did she give him such a soft ride?
I know.
Talking to him about global affairs.
Allegations I believe to be false that he made financial payments to me 20 years ago and of which I have no record or recollection need investigating by me. Now, call me old-fashioned, Emma. If something happened to you 20 years ago and somebody gave you £75,000...
£75,000?
Do you think
20 years ago?
Do you think you might have forgotten?
No, and I
think you might have remembered it.
I think, and do you think you would resign while you were waiting to investigate it?
I'm going to investigate myself.
Yeah, but I'm going to resign even though I've done nothing wrong.
Let's see, what was I doing 20 years ago?
With 75 grand?
2006. I got fired by the Daily Mirror, right, in 2006. I'm going to investigate why that happened, when it happened, whether or not they gave... I can't remember whether they gave me any money when they sacked me. That's so ridiculous.
So ridiculous. There's a
thing
called a bank, and you can look...
I know exactly how much money they paid me because I had a big row with them about it, because after they paid me off, it turns out that I had to pay more tax than they said I'd have to pay. And so I went back to them and said, can I have some more money, please? And they said no, which is all a bit unfortunate. But this is extraordinary. Fergie's involved in it as well. Jeffrey Epstein carried out a targeted campaign against Sarah Ferguson despite their close relationship. An email dated August the 20th, 2009 shows a redacted name messaging Epstein, Fergie data collection remains slow, it says.
Yeah, Fergie
That's a bit weird, isn't it?
Fergie is in it up to her ears. I saw an email in one of the papers on the Sundays saying something about, to Epstein saying, the rent's due today, £20,000, any ideas?
Yeah.
Kiss, kiss, kind of thing. I mean, they were all in it up to their eyeballs. There are many questions looming about the money. Do you remember the money that was paid around the daughter's weddings?
Yes.
Huge sums. I mean, we're talking £50,000, £100,000. Where did that go? What? There is a lot of money flying around.
There is.
If nothing else, is there no trail of all this? Where did it go?
Well, you do wonder, don't you? Because it does seem ridiculous. I mean, in terms of some of the other headlines, Manderson faces order for Epstein evidence on the front of the Telegraph. US Congress believes Labour peer has information on paedophiles enablers. So that's the other aspect.
Another thing. That's the other aspect, that both of them are refusing to testify in front of US Congress. I think they need to be got out there. Andrew needs to go out there and tell them what he knows if he's innocent.
Yes. Well, I mean, I don't think he's going to go anywhere near America because people have said if he does go there, there's a pretty good chance that he might be arrested and he might be dragged through the court system. So I would imagine he's going to try and hold out and hide out and just never be seen in public again. The
only time we see him is, you see the front of the Times? Looking hunted in his Range Rover, driving around the...
Where does he go?
He drives around the estate, the Windsor estate, and then goes riding with one of his grooms.
Right. What a ridiculous
What
man
a
he is.
ridiculous man.
I know. It's
I
absolutely
mean, I think he'd have more fun
extraordinary.
in a council estate in Wigan.
Yes,
You
I
know,
think
if
so.
they just put him there and made him go and get a job.
Absolutely right. Do keep your messages coming in. We've got loads of them coming, of course, and other names may come out as well because there's so much. I mean, somebody said yesterday this is still only about half of the cache of files that the Department of Justice has got. They've still got loads and loads of stuff to release.
Well, can we just give an honourable mention to Richard Branson, who says,
yes.
come to the island, bring your harem.
Yeah, right.
I mean, and he's been on the airwaves recently sobbing about missing his wife who recently died in the last few months.
Right.
And there he is,
Wasn't she allergic to him in some weird way? Do you remember that story?
Yes.
Which I'm not going to say at this time of the morning, but apparently she was allergic to something about Richard Branson, which we won't go into. But
Well, there he is on his island, and I'll be at the island until Christmas. I'll be
Right.
at the island. What, is this Virgin Island or the other one, Pedo Island?
Yeah, right.
Paedophile Island. Anyway, bring your harem. What's all that about?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Is that a normal way to talk to your friends?
Of course not. Simon sent us a lovely super chat for a tenner. Simon, thank you very much indeed. This is the other thing, you know, I watched that documentary about Epstein years ago. It came out on Netflix, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And you walked around the house where he lived, I think it was in Florida, full of kind of, you know, porn, in some cases hard porn, kind of, you know, pieces of artwork, photographs of naked girls. I mean, there was some stuff yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, and it was on Twitter, I was watching it, and the figures of the children were blocked out, but there was a piece of footage of Epstein chasing what looked like 2 very young girls around a table.
Yeah.
Right, and there was another piece of a film of him taking a young girl out of his apartment in New York, who was apparently the daughter of the Australian Prime Minister.
Absolutely shocking.
You know, and all of this stuff was known for years.
Yeah, and
Bill
I think
Gates as well. We should give an honourable mention to.
Honourable
Supposedly
mention to
got an SDI.
Another one who
from
seems to be a bit
Russian
allergic
woman.
to his wife, or his wife is a bit allergic to him. Poor woman. Let's try and slip antibiotics.
This is from Lee, possibly the most optimistic man in the world. He says photos can be taken out of context. Could be first aid training.
A lot of people were saying
Lee.
that looks like
Sure.
a CPR course.
Yes.
No, it doesn't look like a
Well,
CPR course. There is a man in the background.
There's a guy in the background with his feet on a sofa, right?
There are towels. It's a massage session in progress. There are towels all over the bed, all over the sofa. Someone in the background with their with their feet, you know, up on the sofa, bare feet.
Yeah.
It's a party. Does he look like he's giving CPR training?
Yes.
It's
Here's
so
a good
odd.
one, a super chat from DB. Who else does Keir have full confidence in? Because, of course, shortly, the day before, I think Mandelson resigned, he had full confidence in Sir Peter Mandelson, Lord Mandelson, didn't he?
He had
As far as I
confidence in
remember.
Rayner. He had who else did he have confidence in before?
Everyone that's ever resigned. Everyone
Of
that's
course.
ever resigned from the Labour government.
I hope
and
he has
which there are
full
many.
confidence in those Ukrainians, in those young men.
Oh, yeah, the ones who haven't yet. But see, there was somebody else charged the other day, so we can't really go into that. Wendy says, Mandy can't remember what happened 20 years ago, but Nigel Farage is supposed to remember what happened 40 years ago. Well, yeah, suddenly a lot of people can remember what happened with Nigel Farage, but they can't remember what happened with Peter Mandelson. How very strange. There's quite a few other weird stories going on. Most ridiculous story of the day on the front page of The Sun, despite all of this stuff that's going on with Mandelson. Lewis Hamilton dating Kim Kardashian. I mean, I don't really care, to be honest.
I don't care, but this very much, as journalists, one knows, you know, 2 people who need a bit of relevance standing, you know, they were allegedly in some hotel and they allegedly both checked out in the afternoon. I think this is one of those, you know, they need a few headlines. I mean, Lewis Hamilton does he not win anymore? I'm not very good, I'm not hot on
I don't think
motivating.
he's winning as much as he used to.
I don't
let's
think
put
he
it that
is,
way.
and Kim Kardashian, you know, she's always up for some headlines.
Well, he's not. I mean, there'll be no doubt aficionados of Formula One who will have a go at me for this, but I mean, it does seem to me that he seems to do much better when he's got the best car.
Yeah,
you know,
well, there
the
you
person with
go.
the best car seems to do the most winning. There we are. The heron is facing the wrong way, Mike. Please correct it. It doesn't look good like that. What do you mean it's facing the wrong way? He's looking at the plant. I've got some bad news for you, by the way, actually, because we discovered a secret about the heron. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you.
Is it not really a heron?
Pooch says no. I've got a mug somewhere. Where is the mug? No, I haven't got the mug.
While you're
he made
doing
me
the
a
mug,
coffee.
While you're doing the mug, can we say hello to Peter in
Yes.
Perth?
Let's do it.
Western Australia.
Peter in Perth.
Who's been watching you all the way through, in
Brilliant.
all your evolutions.
Has he? Brilliant.
Right?
Well, Peter in Perth, hello. Very good morning to you.
He
or
served
good evening to you.
12 years in the Royal Navy.
Okay.
He's devastated at what's happening to UK veterans in this country and the
Yeah.
way they're being treated.
Yes.
And he loves your show.
That's very kind.
And he emigrated
Peter,
to Perth because the
here's to
UK
you.
is broken.
I can raise you a glass of water this morning, where you'll be pleased to know we're not raising anything else else at the moment because it is right now it's 7:14. Speaking of veterans, actually, there was a story I wanted to bring to your attention, which I think is in the Mail, but it might be a bit far back, and it's about the fact that. There's a new plan to give council houses to migrants, right? And there's a bunch of.
Did you see that over the weekend about the fact that all the plans for asylum hotels, all the plans to close down the asylum hotels, sort of haven't really happened yet.
No,
we're trying, we're doing our best, but they haven't really happened.
Well, there was another big protest in Crowborough over the moving in of 540 single men into a former army camp, right? But this is a story in the Mail, exclusive by Sophie Church. Keir Starmer is facing calls from Labour MPs to scrap plans to put asylum seekers in new council homes, potentially forcing the Prime Minister into another embarrassing U-turn. Apparently, these are some of the places where they're planning to do it. Brighton and Hove, Hackney, Peterborough, Thanet and Powys in Wales. 200 local authorities have registered interest in a pilot scheme that would fund building homes or refurbishing them for asylum seekers ahead of, basically, veterans who are living homeless on the streets of those counties.
Absolutely shocking. And there are old people who need homes, who need help with their homes and all of that kind of stuff. And they're being, everybody's being put at the back of the queue behind asylum seekers.
Yeah, I know.
What is wrong with just having some borders and saying enough is enough? We don't have any more space.
Exactly right. Here's one for you if you're interested in what's going on inside the health service. Ministers are paying hospitals £3 million a month to remove patients from waiting lists, making it look like the health service is treating more people than it actually is.
We've said this.
What have I told you?
Yeah.
What have I been telling you?
All along, the way they are manufacturing, massaging, not just massaging the figures, the way they are moving people around, the way they give you an initial phone appointment or something like that.
Here we are. This is a new heron mug. Oh, hang on.
Look at that.
There you go. Look at that.
Hold it forwards.
Keep calm and love herons, it says there.
Yeah.
Should I hold it further forward?
There we go.
Like that. There we are. Very nice. Did somebody send this in, or did you buy it?
I bought it.
Oh, Pooch bought it for me. That's very
That's
kind.
lovely.
Isn't
But
that
I'm
lovely?
still really worried about the heron. Are you not going there? You're not going to tell me?
I'm not allowed to. I've been banned.
Okay.
No, it's a trade secret. We can't say anything. Or maybe we could ask people to guess what it is. What's the heron's secret?
Yeah.
And if we get it to where are we? We've got 870 likes. I tell you what, if we get to 2,000 likes, we'll tell you exactly what the heron is. And what the secret of the heron is, all right? How about that? 870 likes right now. Get it to 2,000 and I'll tell you the story.
Okay.
How about, so it was only, 2 weeks ago, Keir Starmer came out and said in an interview, we have reduced the waiting list for the first time in 2 years by 67,000, right? An out and utter lie, right? He said, 2 weeks ago, the Prime Minister claimed figures showed that NHS waiting lists were down by more than 86,000, the largest fall in a month for over 2 years. However, an analysis of official NHS statistics by The Times reveals that this drop was only achieved by removing thousands of patients from the waiting list through a process known as validation, which means either asking you if you still want your operation, and if you don't answer because you've either moved or you've gone private, that takes your name away. Or if they say that, we're going to cancel this operation and put you onto another list, then you move as well. This is all the stuff that I've been saying for months and months and months.
This is how they do it.
Yeah.
People die. People die.
It's a con.
People are dying, waiting on waiting lists.
Yeah.
A lot of people are using their life savings to go private because they've got a bad hip or a bad knee or whatever it is, and they simply cannot wait and wait and wait.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so dishonest. And, if you get an initial phone consultation, then you're no longer seen as waiting because you're moved to another service.
Yeah.
You're moved to another section of the health service.
Yeah.
It's utterly dishonest
It's
the way
really
they're
dishonest.
obsessed about the figures. And I think Wes Streeting as well needs to be answerable because everyone says, oh, he's done a great job in the NHS.
How has he?
Really? What's he done?
Yeah.
He's been about as effective as Shabana Mahmood coming in a few months ago and saying she was going to crack down on the boat.
Yeah, I know. You don't see much
the
of her
whole
saying that
thing
anymore,
about
do you?
Starmer out in China, do you remember he was obsessing about the boat parts?
Oh, yeah.
He'd found that someone was making...
Stop the engines.
Yeah, it was something to do with Chinese engines.
And that also turns out to be a lot of old cobblers, right? Because it's actually old news, because now the people smugglers don't buy the engines from China anymore. They used to, but not anymore. They get them now in Europe because it's cheaper and it's easier to get them. So,
yes,
I mean...
and it's utterly irrelevant. If hundreds of people are still coming over on boats, it's completely irrelevant. Do you remember when he found that Turkish guy, that Afghanistan guy?
Yeah.
I don't know where. who had allegedly made a propeller or something. That was going to be the key.
He's the only guy they've ever prosecuted.
Ever prosecuted.
One Turkish bloke.
And I think he
ridiculous.
came back. He probably went on holiday there and came back. You know, it's absolute nonsense. The fact is the numbers are still rising.
Absolutely right. And here, just on the subject of the NHS, a big spread in the Mail, a big investigation that they've done. Guy Adams is very good. Police officers who've been summoned to the University Hospital of Wales in Cardiff must have scarcely been able to believe their eyes. Basically, in a staff room at the hospital sterilisation and decontamination unit, a bizarre confrontation was playing out, revolved around a bottle of Lucasade, which an employee had found had been moved in the fridge. What's more, the seal on its lid appeared broken, and the drink inside gave off a noxious smell. They're calling it Britain's worst hospital. Pigeons in the operating theatre, sterile surgical instruments tampered with, anaesthetic nurses who watch Netflix instead of their patients, drug use, fights, and illicit affairs amongst the staff.
Absolutely shocking.
I mean, incredible.
And do you remember that?
They have the gall to say that they're improving the NHS.
Oh, and do you remember that story
I don't think so.
a few months ago with surgeons saying they are basically able to operate 1 day a week? That they've got the operating theatres, they're ready to go, and because of the staffing, because of millions of admin issues in the NHS, they're not even able to operate, which is what people need when they're on waiting lists. They need to get through the system.
Absolutely extraordinary. Mike, can you wish my husband a happy 70th birthday? He's also a veteran. Love the show, says Leslie. Yes, happy birthday. You don't tell us his name, unfortunately, otherwise we could have said it. But there you go. Leslie's husband.
God, as long as you don't
many
sing.
happy returns. Is the heron trans, says Scotty. Well, I can't tell you. I can't tell you the answer until we get to 2,000 likes. We've got 1.6 at the moment. 1.6 thousand. Lots of us watching in Perth, Western Australia. Huge MG fans here, Jan. That's great.
Wow.
Shall I tell them the secret about Perth or not? Pooch's daughter's living in Perth currently, and I think she's being visited by one of her parents. Obviously not Pooch. Mike, are the plants real or plastic? I can't tell you. We're going to have a competition every day now, aren't we? We're going to have a competition every day to see whether or not we can answer any of these questions. My brother has brain and lung cancer and has now got lumps in his legs. We've been told he needs an emergency appointment. We thought, great, his appointment is in June. He's a 15-year Army veteran. June. I mean, that is unbelievable,
shocking,
isn't
to
it?
live with that worry and to live with that anxiety until then, quite apart from needing the treatment.
Yeah, exactly right. And to be lied to constantly and consistently by government ministers, the Prime Minister and other people. We'll be talking later about the Prime Minister's trip to China and Japan. I'll tell you what I didn't know until the weekend, which was that the Japanese Prime Minister, one, was female.
Yeah, I didn't
and
know.
Also used to be in a rock band. He used to play the drums.
I didn't know that.
And is also famous for doing something else. Can't remember what the other thing is that she does. But anyway, quite an interesting character. But, I mean, we've got a bit of Starmer, and I know this is going to upset a lot of people, but I've got to play it to you because it's so dull. It's even more dull than his speech he made in China. This is him talking to the new Japanese Prime Minister.
And it's really good to see you again. We had a fantastic first meeting last year, and it's really, can you hear me? It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you for such a warm welcome and greetings to the whole of your delegation. It is a real pleasure to be here in Tokyo today. It's my first time here, so thank you for making it such a warm welcome for my first visit. The UK-Japan partnership is of profound and growing importance. As G7...
That old Starmer there, is that he can't even speak to somebody sitting across the table from him without reading from his notes. He's
What is
looking
wrong with
down
him?
all the time.
What is wrong with him?
Why can he
Is
not?
he
I mean,
able to deliver?
he's meant to be a
few
lawyer,
words?
right?
Yeah.
So he's meant to be able to stand up in a court of law and speak freely without notes, without referring to pieces of paper. Doesn't seem to be able to do that. He can't sit in front of another politician and speak without notes. It's embarrassing.
It really
isn't
is
it?
embarrassing. It shows that he has, it's almost as though he has no convictions, no beliefs, no understanding, because he's not able to talk.
No.
He's not able to talk without checking first what he's going to say.
Right.
That's not a conversation.
No, it really isn't.
It'd be like if I was sat here going like this.
And in all of the speech that he makes, I had to cut it short because it's so dull.
Yeah.
He doesn't actually say anything. He talks about opportunities for consultation and looking forward to talks and looking forward to meetings. And
he
you know,
kept-
there's nothing there. It's literally like a piece of paper that's crumbling before your very eyes.
It's literally that empty speak. And you can tell that he does it, or all his cabinet ministers do it. But he kept telling us that this trip, this pointless waste of money trip, was going to benefit the British people.
Yeah.
It was going to encourage inward investment. Well, I'm sure you go into it later, but everybody's been pointing out this benefits China in some ways. It doesn't benefit anyone.
Well, I think
the big thing about the visa,
AstraZeneca have gone
who are
into
investing
China
in there.
with which hundreds of millions of pounds worth of investment into China.
Into China.
We're getting nothing.
We get nothing out of that. Oh,
Shocking.
but what is it? Our MPs can go there for 30 days visa-free travel. Oh, and the world cheered.
Oh, great.
I mean, who cares?
Yeah, I really want to go to China for my holidays.
And I think all those MPs said they weren't going to go.
I mean, all the MPs who have now had the sanctions lifted are all saying, we didn't ask for this to happen.
No.
It doesn't help us. It doesn't change anything. And it certainly doesn't reflect well on the Prime Minister, because he basically went there without getting any form of sort of promise on anything.
Meanwhile, we are on our knees, we are kowtowing on our faces to them, to allowing them to build their mega embassy in the heart of the City of London.
I know.
I mean, this is the backdrop to him going out there to China. It's just really one
really
despairs
embarrassing.
Of this man.
And meanwhile, back home, everything is literally going to hell in a handcart. You know, the high streets are collapsing. You know, there's more and more bankruptcies going on. There's more and more pubs closing. Today, by the way, is the day that alcohol tax goes up. So pubs are now going to be making even less money than they were. I looked at some analysis over the weekend, and for the price of a, say, £7.50 pint, the landlord of the pub makes 47 pence.
It's appalling.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right? So they've got to sell something like 500 more pints a month in order to make any kind of money at all.
It's almost impossible with all the business rates and all the taxes and the increase in all of the insurance and employment and everything. I was talking to a guy who runs a pub who said literally people used to come out to the pub after work pretty much every day. Yeah, once or twice a week, 3 times a week. Now they go out. People go out maybe a couple of times a month because they cannot afford it. How on earth can they run their pubs? And when you run a pub, you've got to light it, you've got to heat it, you've got to clean the lavatories, whether you have one person in there or 10 or 20. Right. I do not know. Same with hair salons. All of these small businesses that people used to run. And how are they surviving?
And I don't blame people for putting prices up, because that's what you have to do. I went to a new pub down in Sussex at the weekend. We thought we'd check it out. A couple of Scotch eggs, a sort of a main course for one person, which was a veggie thing. Not particularly, expensive, not a particularly expensive meal, but sort of, like a mushroom fritter or something, some chips. 2 or 3 drinks, one of which was non-alcoholic, because I was driving. 75 quid.
That's ridiculous.
And you go, what?
That used to be the price of a night out in the West End.
I know.
I mean, that really is shocking.
It really is shocking, absolutely right. We've got a poll going, by the way. Sleaziest UK public figure. Is it Peter Mandelson? Is it Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor? Is it Hugh Edwards? Or is it Matt Hancock? You might not be surprised to know. Coming up close second at the moment, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, but Peter Mandelson leading with 54% from the front. Hugh Edwards on 14%. Matt Hancock actually doing all right, only on 5%. What was that clip you wanted me to play, Pooch?
The daylight robbery.
Oh, the daylight robbery one. Yeah, let's have a look at this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, haven't got it now.
Calling the police. Call the police.
This is Saturday morning in Richmond, a rather nice suburb of London, right? They're literally ripping out the window from a jewellery shop and just filling a bag with stuff, right? No police around. Nobody's stopping them.
Absolutely shocking. In Richmond.
Yeah. And there's somebody trying to hit the guy with a sponge or something.
Too terrified. There's someone inside saying,
with a brick. They just look. They take the whole window out.
And they're filling a blue plastic bag with jewels and watches and
running
whatever.
off.
That is absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
And you know what people are doing? Filming them. Oh yeah, it's one of those lovely little lanes in Richmond.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't. I mean, you can't really blame people for not apprehending them.
I know.
But, I mean, it's a pretty awful state.
But in the
of
old
affairs,
days, I mean, if my late father had seen that, he would have said, "What the heck do you?"
My dad.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
Tried to stop them running away.
Yes, he would actually.
I'm sorry to tell you, Pooch, that we've now reached 2,000 likes on the front of the show. So we're going to have to tell them now, aren't we?
Good.
All right.
Do you have to tell them?
Tell the story.
All right. I'm just going to say I'm not going to give too many pieces of information. I'm just going to say one thing. It's not a heron.
I knew it.
That's it.
I knew it.
That's it. I'm not going to explain it. I'm not going to say anything else.
Well, 3,000 likes and you tell them what it is.
3,000 likes. I will tell you what it is, right? Or you can have a guess.
I'm sorry, speculation has been rife all week. That is not a heron. There were so many
Was
other.
there?
Yes. It's an ostrich. It's clearly a blue ostrich, identifying as a, I don't know, pelican.
Aren't ostriches more hairy than that? Or
I don't
more
know,
sort
but
of-
it's not a heron.
Right, it's not a heron. I blame Donald. Anyway,
On screen, Mike.
we'll come back to that. Have Pooch found out that it's a stork? Donald brought the stork, says Lord Viking. It did come from Donald, but we can't say yet. We'll see if we get to 3,000 likes and we're like. Meanwhile, time is running up against us. So before we do anything else, let's have a look at this. Front page of the Telegraph. The British countryside will be made into a less white environment under nationwide diversity plans.
Oh, not this again. Not this again. I remember
Because you
this thing about the countryside was racist.
Racist, yep, absolutely right. How about this? Officials in rural areas, including the Chilterns and the Cotswolds, have pledged to attract more minorities under plans drawn up by the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. What's it got to do with them? You know, sorry, get on with running the Department for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs.
Make the countryside a nice place to go.
Yeah.
Get good transport links out there from cities and towns so people can go.
Yeah.
Don't charge people to walk their dogs. Make sure people pick up their, dog poop and
Yeah.
whatever. And then people, if they go to the countryside, no one cares.
Yeah.
If you're walking your dog in the
Don't
countryside...
start charging them to park your car there
Well, I was
either,
gonna
which
say,
is what they're also doing.
But if you're walking Ziggy in the countryside and you see someone of colour, of any ethnicity,
Yes.
of any race, you don't care. The countryside isn't inherently racist.
No, of course not.
I mean, what's it got to do with them? Make it a nice place to go.
This is exactly my point. You know, they shouldn't be interfering with the sort of demographics of any part of the country. The Chilterns National Landscape Association team has set out proposals that include community outreach schemes to attract more Muslims to the area, particularly from neighbouring Luton. Why do you need Muslims in the countryside? What's the point?
I mean, they can go if they want to. Nothing
Yeah.
against Muslims being in the countryside.
No, I don't care.
But-
But why would you have a sort of positive discrimination?
It's
to say,
very, very
I tell you what we
strange.
need in the countryside is not more country pubs, not more farms, not more shops.
Not more buses going out there so
Not
that
more
people can
buses.
get there. No.
Yeah, no, what we need are more Muslims.
Let's just bust them in.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Absolute
What is
madness.
going on with these maniacs? Absolutely incredible, isn't it? Absolutely incredible. A couple of other stories to mention because time, as I say, is against us. BBC to bring in a radio levy. This is also the Telegraph. What do you
Well,
think of this?
yeah,
I don't know how they're going to do that.
I thought that was really interesting. I've got this strong sort of conviction that people should be able to put the radio on in the kitchen and potter
Yeah.
around. Like
Right.
old people have the radio on in the background. People driving in their cars, they have the radio on. Why on earth should they pay for it?
Right.
I think the licence fee is a complete and utter mess. I mean, you can watch, you have to pay it if you're watching on the iPlayer and any live streaming services. But, I mean, a lot of people I know just don't pay it. They just don't bother. Young people don't bother.
But also,
they
how
know
on
that
earth-
they pay for the things that they're used to a subscription model.
Yeah.
They pay for Netflix if they want it. They pay for some parts of YouTube if they want it.
Yeah.
So
But how on earth are they going to police that, right? So if
very
you're
strange.
listening to your radio in the
your
car...
old car and you turn it on, how on
What
earth?
are they going to do? They're going to have sort of, radio police following you to see what you're listening to when you stop at the lights? It's ridiculous.
Meanwhile, they're spending hundreds of millions of pounds still on things like the World Service. So I don't mind. I don't mind people paying for it. What I really object to is people like certain presenters, and we won't mention his name,
Yeah.
who are paid, vast, vast sums of money for doing a really mediocre job.
Yeah.
And the BBC say, we have to pay people like that, otherwise they'll go to the competition.
Yeah.
No, they won't.
No,
those
absolutely not.
football presenters, for example,
Yeah.
they won't get offered 3 million, 5 million
No.
at a rival.
I mean,
channel. They
Lineker
won't.
did go to another place and get a lot of money,
Good,
but
good
that's
for
because
him.
he's built his reputation by working for, for us, basically.
Fine, but don't waste a licence fee payer's money on a hugely inflated salary.
No, exactly right. Unemployment's going to reach a 5-year high this week as well. How about that for some
Quelle
good news?
surprise.
Yeah, I
Right.
know.
I mean-
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Coming up, we'll be bringing you the news with Edward Hughes, of course. Simon Danchuk's coming up too a little bit later on. Also, we've got a really, really interesting story from the Taxpayers Alliance to share with you at the top of the hour at 8 o'clock. William Yarwood's going to be telling us exactly how much money, and this is going to shock you, is being spent by local councils on social care now for asylum seekers, right? In one county alone, the increase is from zero, basically, nothing being spent at all, to millions and millions of pounds.
It's absolutely shocking. There is so much more than just asylum seekers coming here and needing accommodation. There's the cost, the health cost, there's
Yeah.
the dentist, there's the schooling costs. I mean, at my
Yes.
son's school, the amount of special needs and of children who have just recently arrived in this country and don't speak English as a
speak
first
English,
language,
yeah.
for example.
Right.
So the costs surrounding every asylum seeker that comes here is just astonishing. It's absolutely
Well, it's ballooning.
astronomical.
It's absolutely ballooning.
Yeah.
It's in most cases it's doubled. In
With
some
or without
cases,
taxis to the local NHS appointments.
Oh, I know. Finally, something to sort of perhaps warm the cockles of your heart. On page 3 of the Daily Mail, it's a very Daily Mail story, this.
Yes.
Do you know what kind of a night owl or early bird you are? You're obviously an early bird, if you'll pardon the phrase, because you get up early. But it says here, are you somebody who classically gets up early? You lead a stable life, you rarely smoke, you're a moderate drinker, unlikely to engage in group activities? Or are you a struggling early bird, which is likely to be women? Early starts cause the group's tiredness and anxiety and have a relatively high risk of depression. I don't think you're that.
No, I'm just early bird.
You're
Just
just
early
like-
bird, getting up and about, a bit manic, a bit
so
hyperactive.
you don't stay up late or anything?
Well,
really?
it
Or do you do
depends.
both?
I mean, working, I stay up late. I don't
It says
know.
here, high performance
I think we
night
all-
owls are likely to be parents, rapid problem solvers who drive fast, enjoy a drink, and may be manic, impulsive, irritable, and
Well, what
fed
are
up.
you? What are you?
I think that's me.
I think you're both. I think
Yeah.
you can go out partying quite late at
I
night,
can.
but you also get up very, very early.
I do, and I can be irritable.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
fed up.
And
Which I was this
depressed.
weekend, for some reason. Energetic night owls, likely to be men, sociable and physically active, enjoy a drink and risk-taking behaviour. Vulnerable night owls, less physically active and prone to depression and cardiovascular risks.
Yeah, I think they're the ones that sort of stay up very late, doom
Yeah.
scrolling and things like that.
Yeah, this is all in Nature Communications, by the way. It's a biobank health study of 27,000 people, all identified by using
Well, I
an
think-
AI algorithm.
Well, everybody who's watching right now and listening right now is clearly an early bird because they're up and about. I always feel like if you lie in bed and you go out late and you lie in bed until 10, 11 in the morning, you've sort of missed the best part of the day.
Exactly right.
Whereas there's something bracing about cycling through the city and it's still dark and it's 4 a.m.
Yeah,
I love
mean,
it.
I must admit, this weekend, and I don't know whether it's because it's the last weekend of January and you're sort of looking
Yeah.
forward to spring slowly moving in. It was so horrible. I woke up on, I think it was Sunday morning, and the rain was battering
yeah.
against the window. It was pouring. You know, I had to take the dog out for a walk. In the end, I managed to palm that off on my son, who did it, because I just couldn't
Yeah.
bring myself to
I
go
had
out
the
into
same
the
thing.
cold and the rain and the wet. It was just horrible.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I thought that I'd got through January. I didn't get the January blues. January was great, and then the last week of January was a real doozy.
Yeah.
it was awful. I felt like bad last week of January.
And you know, somebody told me that this is a very unusual February because for the first time in 823 years or something, there's 4 days in every week. 4 Sundays, 4 Mondays, 4 Tuesdays, 4 Wednesdays, 4 Thursdays, 4 Fridays, 4 Saturdays.
Yeah, the first of February started on a Sunday,
Yes.
so every day, and then we have exactly the same in March. The 1st of March is a Sunday as well.
Yes.
It's a very odd configuration
but
because of the
particular
28
thing
days.
is it's 4 of the same day.
Oh, I see.
Which never happens. It only happens every 823 years.
That's
apparently.
amazing.
Which is amazing. Anyway, listen, we've got so much more to do. You've got 2,500 likes, so we get it to 3,000 likes, and we'll tell you what's wrong with the heron. And why it isn't one. Meanwhile, we've got lots more to do. We've got some news with Edward. We got a message from Ludo. Yes, of course, we're going to play this. This is your lovely son, who's aged now what? 4?
5.
5 now.
Yes.
Ludo sent this in yesterday. Have a listen.
The Mike Graham Show is smashing it all over the airwaves.
What a splendid young man he is.
Yeah, and I've told
Very well
him-
brought up, obviously.
Absolutely, and I've told him if he goes into school and says smashing it, that
Yeah.
he'll be in big trouble.
He will be, yeah.
It's
Don't
a bit,
say that.
It's a bit vulgar.
Don't say that in school. Well, I mean, it didn't used to be.
I
We used to be
know,
able to
there's
say-
something about it though, it's a bit violent.
Yeah, I think it's become come from football parlance, hasn't it? Which
Yes.
is never good.
Yes.
Emma Wolf, as ever, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Good to see you. Simon Danchuk's here. He's going to be coming up very shortly. We've got, first of all, though, the news with Edward Hughes.
Good morning, it's Monday the 2nd of February, I'm Edward Hughes. In the UK, a new fuel price transparency rule takes effect today. All petrol stations must report price changes to a government database within 30 minutes, aiming to help drivers find cheaper fuel more easily amid ongoing cost of living pressures. Business surveys indicate most employers plan pay rises of 3% to 3.5% for 2026, a level slightly above what some Bank of England officials prefer as they work to control inflation. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has urged former Prince Andrew to cooperate fully with US investigations into Jeffrey Epstein connections, including potentially testifying before Congress following renewed focus on the Epstein files. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper travels to Ethiopia to discuss migration measures, emphasizing job creation partnerships and anti-smuggling cooperation to reduce irregular arrivals in the UK. Other developments include the ongoing push for economic growth under Labour, with business leaders calling for bolder action amid flashing warning lights, plus new direct Indigo flights launching from Delhi to London Heathrow. Immigration policy consultations continue, with deadlines today for input on shortage occupations. Overall, the day mixes regulatory changes, wage outlook, royal controversy echoes, and international diplomacy. Stay tuned for more updates. Please remember to like and subscribe. Laters Tigers.
I'm Mike Graham, and this is the Mike Graham Show. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is free, it doesn't cost you any money whatsoever. But if some of you, of course, don't like the adverts, we can always give you a way around that. What you can do is you can sign up for YouTube Premium, which means you'll watch it ad-free, or you can join our Substack, which is themikegrahamshow.com. And for £1 a week, you basically get to watch the show completely ad-free every single morning from 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. And it does really, really help us if you like the YouTube channel and if you subscribe to it as well. And that doesn't cost you a penny. So you can do that and push our subscription numbers up. We're already hitting over 5 million views. We've got 126,000 subscribers already, but we want to make that bigger and bigger and bigger because that really does help the channel. The adverts that do appear, of course, on YouTube are put there by YouTube, not by us. There may come a time when we schedule ads so that we know exactly when they're coming in, but do forgive us if you're watching the show and the adverts do come on. But as I say, we really, really want your support. We really, really value it. And if you can join our Substack for £1 a month, that would be great. If you just want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, that would also be great. Have we got any other messages, Pooch, for the good people? Well, what they get on Substack is they'll get a little video from me every day about what I'm up to. Yesterday, I was on a tube train, and I'll tell you all about what happened then. Quite an interesting story. You'll also get little blogs. You might get an occasional recipe from me as well, maybe at least once a week. We're going to try and do that. And all sorts of other goodies that nobody else will see if they're not part of the Substack community. So do sign up to it, themikegrahamshow.com. Do sign up and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. It doesn't take any time at all. It doesn't cost you anything, but it pushes our numbers up and it really helps the channel. So thank you very much for your support so far. We're looking forward to going into our 5th week very soon. The first month of the Mike Graham Show has been a great success. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Pooch. Thanks to Charlotte, who puts it all together behind the scenes. And we'll see you every single morning right here, Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. So please do like and subscribe to the channel. We've always got, well, we have got 3,000 likes, so I'll have to fulfill my promise and tell you what I can tell you the secret about the heron, which is just behind Simon Dunchuk's left shoulder. Actually, right. Simon, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Welcome to the new show. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. We'll come to you just in one moment because, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, because we're going to do now first Plank of the Day.
Hello, it's Plank of the Day time.
Now, you might have watched this over the weekend. There's a bit of a by-election going on, February the 26th, so just a few weeks away. And it's Gorton and Denton, of course. Andrew Gwynn left the seat after a scandal for the Labour Party, and it's now going to be fought, it looks like, between Reform and the Greens. They seem to be the two front runners. The Labour candidate doesn't appear to be doesn't appear to have much hope of getting anywhere near the first two possible positions, and also the Tories are nowhere to be found either. But Nigel Farage went up to Newcastle before he went up to Gorton and Denton the other day, and he went into a restaurant which I don't know personally, but it's quite a well-known restaurant in Newcastle, which I think is called Hibu Blank, right? And unfortunately for him, everywhere he goes, there's some kind of demonstration. But at this particular point, there was a group of what can only be described as a load of, sort of horrible, ghastly lefties who stood outside, hammering the windows, banging on the door. When the people inside decided to come out and put the shutters down in order for the people inside to be able to have a quiet lunch without actually being disturbed by these really foul lefties. They started hitting the thing with hammers. Just have a look at this. That rather large woman in the sort of purple outfit, who looks even more ridiculous from the front than she did from the back, was actually shouting, "What are you dressed like?" which I thought was rather a strange thing to say. But I don't know what it is. I don't know why left-wingers are so horrible, antisocial, ghastly and crude, because they were shouting all kinds of horrible things at Darren Grimes, who was also there. And obviously this is going to happen over time everywhere now that that reform goes. They're going to be hit with these kind of demonstrations everywhere they go, which is, I think, embarrassing for the people doing it, and terrible for democracy, it has to be said. I don't know why they have to be so unpleasant. I don't know why they have to be so awful. But I guess we'll be watching all of that in the coming weeks and months. That was Plank of the Day. Mad lefties.
Hello, it's Plank of the Day time.
So, Simon Danchuk's here. Not a Reform candidate, I'm not even sure a Reform member, are you?
I am a
You are a
Reform
Reform
member,
member, yes.
Yeah, I'm an early adopter, actually, Mike. I came to Reform in January 2024.
Okay.
Before a lot of others did.
Yes, and you'll know the Gorton area presumably quite well.
Gorton
it's
and
your,
Denton.
your neck of the woods,
More
isn't
or
it?
less, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's an interesting by-election for sure.
It really is. I mean, it's already kind of got a lot of people going, because you've got a Green candidate who is apparently claiming to be a plumber, and there's been some questions asked about whether or not she actually knows what she's doing, certainly with plastering and with other, sort of suggested scenarios. Also some suggestion that she's married to somebody who's quite well off, given the Greens' policy on, wanting to tax the rich and everything else. You've obviously got Matt Goodwin standing for Reform. It looks like it's going to be, there's a list there of the people we know so far. Nick Buckley running for Advance UK. A lot of people think that that's going to split the Reform vote. What do you make of that whole situation?
Yeah, I didn't know Nick was standing, actually. I do know Nick, and I've done his show once or twice. I don't think they should have stood, really, but they're a political party, and they will take a few votes, but they're not going to do very much in this election. People will get behind Matt Goodwin. I think he has a very good chance of winning it. You can't be complacent. You're exactly right about the Green candidate. I was posting on X yesterday about the fact that she was attempting to be a plasterer. My brother's a plasterer, and I've worked with him on many occasions, and it's a tough job, and she's just cosplaying and trying to be a working class person.
She's basically holding what's the name of that thing that you said? A hawk? Yeah, she's holding a hawk.
Or a float, as we call it. Yeah, that's right.
With a huge pile of plaster on there, which just looks wrong, doesn't it?
It is wrong, and if anybody who knows the trades and knows the construction industry will tell you, as they did on social media over the weekend, I mean, it's just a nonsense. I mean, she's playing at trying to be working class, and that will go down like a lead balloon in Denton, particularly Denton. The constituency is quite split. It's a traditional white working class part in Denton. It's more mixed, diverse Muslim community in Gorton. So it's quite an interesting constituency. But as you point out, I don't think Labour are in the running for this, especially when they didn't pick Andy Burnham. He is popular up there. I'm not a fan, but he is very popular in Greater Manchester. He could have won it. If anybody could have won it for Labour, it would have been him. But
Nigel Farage certainly said that, didn't he? That had Andy Burnham decided to run, or if they let him run, that would have been a much more difficult seat for Reform to win. But now they're feeling sort of quite comfortable. The Greens are strange, though, aren't they? I mean, we've got, I think, a clip of Zach Polanski. He was on with Laura Kunsberg yesterday. It was his turn to be interviewed as a leader of a party. He comes across as a very odd bloke. Here he is talking about how he's never taken drugs in his life, even though he wants to legalise them, and he's never even had a drink, apparently.
Let's talk about another issue then, because the Prime Minister had a pop at you at Prime Minister's Questions this week. He said you were high on drugs and soft on Putin. You called that disgraceful and disrespectful, but isn't that part of the, sometimes pretty brutal banter of Prime Minister's Questions?
It's absolutely part of it, but I would note that I wasn't there to reply, so I'm glad to be on your show now, which I would argue has a bigger audience. That was beneath the office of the Prime Minister. Let's start with the drugs comment. First of all, there are thousands and thousands of unnecessary deaths from drug harm and from dangerous drugs. And actually what we need is a public health approach. That's not me saying that, that's experts who work in the National Health Service who say this just isn't working. So when I talk about legalising drugs, the key bit is it's about legalising and regulating. If someone has a problematic relationship to drugs, then surely the answer is to make sure they're seen by a medical health professional who can help them. But to have Keir Starmer making cheap jokes, delivered badly, by the way, from the dispatch box was pretty disgraceful. And on Putin, this is the Prime Minister who is subservient to Donald Trump, a man who says that he admires Vladimir Putin while shaming Zelensky in the White House. Again, defence is a really serious issue. There is no bigger number one priority for a government or for a leader of a political party than to defend the people of this country. And to make jokes about Putin and Russia, I think is pretty vile.
Let's just stick there.
Yeah, Zach Polanski, very odd man.
Very strange.
Basically said he doesn't want to be the fun police, but he doesn't take drugs and he's never had a drink of alcohol in his life.
I think the Greens are one of those parties, and including some of the individuals involved, that the public don't really know about. They're a bit like the Liberal Democrats used to be,
Yes.
where people default to them if they're not happy with the government or
Right.
even with the opposition.
Yeah.
So they are picking up support, but that's because people haven't discovered exactly what they stand for. And as they do find out what they're about, I think they'll be less likely to vote for them.
Yeah, I think absolutely right. Should we have a look at the Galton Green candidate, Hannah, I think her name is. Let's have a look at what she's got to say for herself.
So these flags, I'll say this, that took effort. Those flags go for miles. They're all evenly spaced. They're all the same height. And I know from working up a ladder, like fitting gutters and boiler flues and whatnot, like that is not easy. And so if you're using your time and your tools and your practical skills because you want your country back, please come and join the rest of us who are actually trying to get our country back. Come and volunteer at our monthly clean-ups. Come and join the gardening group. Come and fix the broken fencing that needs repairing. Come to the community arts centre that helps so many people but that always needs volunteers. Like, come and do all of those things that will actually get our country back. Because if you've got the time, the tools and the skills, and at the moment you're just putting flags up, please give your head a little wobble and then come and join the rest of us who are actually trying to get our country back.
Hannah Spencer, who says she spends a lot of time up ladders fixing gutters as well as plastering.
Yeah, claiming to
Busy
be
woman.
claiming to be a construction worker. I mean, there's nothing further from the truth, is there really? Just cosplaying at being working class, and it just won't go down very well. I think that by choosing her, they've reduced their chances of winning there, actually.
Well,
I think
a lot of people said to Zach Polanski, I mean, if you want to be an MP and you want to be a leader of your party, why are you not running? And his excuse is, oh, what's because I believe in you using local candidates. If there's a seat in London, I'll run for that.
It's chickened out. I mean, it's a far cry. I remember Caroline Lucas used to be leader of the Greens. She was a Brighton MP, I
She
think.
was.
And she was very serious, very smart. I worked with, when I was in Parliament, cross-party on some of the child abuse issues that we campaigned on. I worked quite closely with her, and she was taken very seriously as a politician. Neither Zach Polanski or Hannah Spencer are taken very seriously.
And let's not forget that a lot of the Green councillors ended up getting involved in politics, not because they were keen on fixing global warming or climate change, but because they were all in support of free Palestine and Gaza.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's where they've picked up support. And that's what they're hoping to do in the Gorton part of this by-election with the Muslim community. They're hoping to take votes there in relation to free Palestine and all the rest of it. Whether that'll translate, I'm not sure, to be quite honest.
Indeed. Now, we did promise you that we would tell you about the crane. Sorry, about the heron, because 3,300 people are now liking the show. We've got loads and loads of people watching, so I'm going to have to tell you, I've given it away slightly there. The heron that you can see behind Simon's shoulder, it turns out is not actually a heron. It was supplied by Donald McLeod, and he's now upset because he was told it was a heron, but it turns out it's actually a crane. So I don't know whether that means we should remove it from the studio, given that it's not a heron. I'm not sure what we should do now. Maybe you should tell us. Simon, we've got to talk about the Epstein files, haven't we? Front pages today. I mean, for me, as terrible as the Prince Andrew or the Andrew Mountbatten Windsor story is, in many ways for me, Lord Mandelson's part in all of this is actually worse to some extent. I mean, there are pictures of him in his underpants on the front of the Daily Telegraph, which is awful. But also allegations that he took money. He says he doesn't remember, and he's going to have to investigate his own life to remember, to find out whether he took money. I mean, I said to somebody this morning, I said to Emma Wolf, there he is, there's his underpants. You know, I remember 20 years ago, I was sacked by the Daily Mirror. They paid me off. I don't have to I don't have to investigate my own life to find out how much they paid me, because I remember how much they paid me. You know, and if he was in receipt of money from a convicted paedophile, surely he would remember that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's a really serious issue, this, and it casts a big shadow over the Prime Minister, actually. Keir Starmer has been dragged screaming and kicking to actually get rid of him from the Labour Party. And it's only last night that Mandelson comes out and resigns from the Labour Party. I mean, there's no doubt about it. somebody's phoned him up and said, yeah, they
You better do it,
resign,
yeah.
or
Yeah,
we're going to, cancel your membership. But it's taken this long. He's been. He says he had an association with Epstein.
Yeah.
It wasn't an association. It was a very close friendship.
Yes.
Let's be completely honest.
Well,
about
we've
this.
seen the messages, haven't we?
Yeah.
And the messages that he sent him after he was convicted as well.
Oh,
so
totally.
it's not
So
as though-
he knew he was a paedophile.
Yeah.
Mandelson knew that Epstein was a paedophile, and yet he cozied up to him time and again. And what's become apparent over the last 24 hours is that he was taking money, and I think I'm right in saying he was taking money while he was a member of Parliament and/or a minister, and he was trying to win. This is the big story today. He was taking money he had taken money from Epstein.
Yes.
And then he was advising Epstein and others on how to get rid of the banker's bonus,
Yes.
how to put pressure on government to get rid of the banker's bonus, how to lobby government after having taken money from Epstein.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely outrageous.
Well, it's even worse than that, 'cause on the front page of the Financial Times, which I've got here, the headline says, JP Morgan should threaten the UK over bankers' tax. That's what Mandelson told Epstein. So he was actively kind of campaigning, if you like, on behalf of international bankers against the UK. Lord Peter Mandelson told Jeffrey Epstein in 2009 that JP Morgan's boss should mildly threaten Britain's Chancellor over a tax on bankers' bonuses proposed by the government, in which Mandelson was then serving as business secretary.
At the time.
I mean, surely that's corrupt, isn't it?
Yeah, totally corrupt, against the country's interests.
Yeah.
And it calls into question Starmer's judgment. It's only a few months ago that Keir Starmer appointed him as the US ambassador, from Britain.
Right.
And why would you do that with all what they knew about him?
Right. Well, there was a good question actually asked by Laura Kunsberg yesterday to Steve Reed, who was out doing the rounds for the government. And she said, Peter Mandelson said that he had told the government everything about his previous, encounters with Epstein. They'd been told exactly what he had said and all of that. And Steve Reed's kind of only answer to that was, well, he obviously didn't tell us everything. Well, then, do they not check these things? I mean, surely if you're setting up a government minister or an ambassador to be in a very important position like ambassador to the United States of America, you would surely run a background check on him, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, the security services, I think, will have told the Prime Minister that he wasn't suitable for the job.
Yeah.
I think he had the advice and Starmer chose to ignore it. And it's another example where Keir Starmer's called it wrong.
Yeah.
Another example. And it's doing a disservice to the country, isn't it?
Totally.
The relationship between Britain and America is probably at an all-time low. I can't remember it being this bad.
No.
To the point where
and
Starmer's
worse
having to
now after the Chinese visit, right?
totally, yeah, that's the point. And where do we go from here? Mandelson is still in the House of Lords. How can we have somebody making laws in this country who's doing Britain a disservice?
I mean, again, the problem, I guess, with the House of Lords is that you can't be fired from the House of Lords even after you've committed a criminal offence.
Yeah.
So I remember that you might remember this story. There was a lord up in Scotland when I was working up there who set fire to some curtains at a hotel in near Edinburgh. Lord Watson, I think his name was. And he went and served time in prison for arson and came back to the House of Lords.
Yeah.
And I think the same goes for Jeffrey Archer.
Yes,
So-
he served time and came back. Yeah,
so there
absolutely.
are people who have committed crimes who can't be kicked out. So I don't know if there's a mechanism by which Mandelson can be removed, is there?
Well, no, it isn't easy. You're exactly right. But I think I'm right in saying the House of Commons could legislate to get rid of Lords. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
And the threat of it would encourage the Lord to be removed. And who in the House of Commons is not going to call or vote for Mandelson to be removed? I mean, the government could easily do that. There's no doubt about it.
And just to show you how useless the left journalists are in this country, you might know of a podcast called The News Agents, done by Emily Maitlis and a guy called John Sopel. Somebody retweeted it, and I did it last night as well, a piece that John Sopel wrote when Mandelson was appointed US ambassador, saying what a great idea it was, despite the fact that, he might have had a colourful past, but he's the man to make it all work for the United States of America's relationship with Britain. And it just goes to show you the judgment of these people is so coloured by their kind of, their slavish adherence to Labour politics that they can't see the wood for the trees.
Oh yeah, there's a big issue, a big serious issue here, where you've got a very senior Labour politician who's cozying up to somebody he knows to be a paedophile.
Yeah.
And having campaigned around these issues on behalf of the victims of child abuse, I don't say this lightly, but in terms of the grooming gangs, in terms of paedophilia, there is a weakness within Labour to ignore it.
Yeah.
They've ignored Mandelson.
Right.
They've refused a national inquiry into the grooming gangs. There is a strong argument to say Starmer could have prosecuted Jimmy Savile.
Yeah.
So there are various issues around this very subject where Labour are found wanting, and I don't say that lightly.
That's an interesting point you make, because as you say, you can forgive one oversight or you can forgive one episode perhaps, but not as many of these episodes as there have been. And let's not forget, there are still all sorts of questions being asked around Nick Brown, whatever. Nobody knows what's happened to him, and we don't know if there's an investigation of some kind. We don't know what his suspension is all about. There are so many questions around, as you say, this one subject.
Yes.
We've got a poll going at the moment, sleaziest UK public figure. It's between Peter Mandelson, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, Hugh Edwards and Matt Hancock. And the audience agrees with me that Peter Mandelson is actually the worst, with 52% of the vote. Nearly 4,000 people have voted in it. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor coming in at 26%. What should happen to Andrew, though, in terms of... Because there's also implications now for the royal family in this, isn't there?
Oh, completely, yeah. No, I mean, he is... It's got worse by the week, hasn't it, in terms of Prince Andrew? And he should go and give evidence in the United States. But so should Mandelson. Mandelson is on record as saying, he never saw anything improper.
Yeah.
If you followed the Epstein case, as many of the victims make clear, if you were anywhere near Epstein's properties, you would know that there was something not right going on. So the idea that Mandel says, I never saw any young girls there, any young women. He's in photos with various young women. I mean, he's been and there's more coming out every time.
Yeah, well, there's a picture of him, as you say. Unfortunately, sorry to show you this over your breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning, Mandelson in his underpants. Having paid many visits, and we've seen him also in sort of, bathrobes, very familiar, obviously, with the surroundings that he's in, very much there to have a good time, it seems.
And one of his defences was just a few weeks ago, talking to Laura Kuenssberg, was that, he's a gay man and,
so I didn't know anything about any of the sex that was going on. Seriously, I mean, does my head zip up the back, as they say in Scotland? Coming up in the next hour, we're going to be speaking to Marilyn Hawes some more about this story. Just before we let you go, Simon, I really appreciate you coming in. Interesting one, talking of Keir Starmer's kind of trip to China and his ability to continue to mislead the public, if not lie to them. Front page of the Times today, ministers pay hospitals in a ploy to cut waiting lists. And this is an investigation by the Times. They say, basically, ministers are paying hospitals £3 million a month to remove patients from waiting lists, making it look like the health service is treating more people than it actually is. I mean, I've been saying this for ages, right? Because it was only 2 weeks ago that Starmer came out and said that they had got the biggest reduction in the waiting list, largest fall in a month for over 2 years. 86,000 people had been reduced off the number. And they've just basically been removing names.
Yeah, you just can't believe what the government are saying. The National Health Service needs a dramatic overhaul, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I'd hope that Wes Streeting, because he's a smart politician. I mean, he's got his faults on some issues, but I thought he might have reorganised the NHS and made it more functional.
Yeah.
But we're not seeing any of that, unfortunately.
Well, unfortunately, it would seem that so many of the hospitals in this country are badly run, lacking in sort of basic hygiene, apart from anything else. An awful lot of people tell me that when they go into hospital, they come out worse than they went in.
Oh, the last place you want to be is in a hospital. You're going to get ill if you're in an hospital. There's no doubt about that. But the NHS exists to serve the people who work in it, not the patients or customers. And that's a fundamental flaw with the organisation. It needs radical overhaul.
It really does. And one final one for you on Keir Starmer. He's back in the country now, having been to China and then Japan. I'm not quite sure what he was doing there. He comes back to another scandal, which seems to be a different one practically every single week, now that he's been exposed as a liar on the NHS as well. I mean, How much longer can he hang in there?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
I think this Gorton and Denton by-election, parliamentary by-election, will see him off.
Right.
He loses this.
Yeah.
If Reform win it, that really weakens him. And then it'll just be a question of whether he's challenged before or after the May local elections.
Yeah, interesting. There's plenty of people lining up, including Angela Rayner, I think, and now to take over from him. Simon Danshot, brilliant to see you. Thank you so much for coming in. Brilliant to have you here. One of the great thinkers of modern times. Not yet back in the House of Commons, but you never know. One of these days. We've got much more to do. As I say, Councillor Simon Ring coming up in a little while as well. He's going to talk to us about some of the problems facing local councils. At the moment, we're going to be finding out as well from our good friend William Yarwood from the Taxpayers Alliance how much money local councils are being forced to pay out for asylum seekers and social care. It's quite a frightening story. You'll be amazed when you see what the figures are. I've got this from Robin de Hood. Please like, subscribe and enjoy. We've got to 3.7 thousand likes now. So as I've said, unfortunately, we can reveal that the heron is in fact a crane. And I've got Donald McLeod saying that he's going to do Amazon over because Amazon apparently identify as a heron. Very bad. It's Michael Crane, says Els Bells. Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Let's get some news with Edward Hughes.
2nd of February, I'm Edward Hughes. In the UK, a new fuel price transparency rule takes effect today. All petrol stations must report price changes to a government database within 30 minutes, aiming to help drivers find cheaper fuel more easily amid ongoing cost of living pressures. Business surveys indicate most employers plan pay rises of 3% to 3.5% for 2026. A level slightly above what some Bank of England officials prefer as they work to control inflation. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has urged former Prince Andrew to cooperate fully with US investigations into Jeffrey Epstein connections, including potentially testifying before Congress following renewed focus on the Epstein files. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper travels to Ethiopia to discuss migration measures, emphasizing job creation partnerships and anti-smuggling cooperation to reduce irregular arrivals in the UK. Other developments include the ongoing push for economic growth under Labour, with business leaders calling for bolder action amid flashing warning lights, plus new direct Indigo flights launching from Delhi to London Heathrow. Immigration policy consultations continue, with deadlines today for input on shortage occupations. Overall, the day mixes regulatory changes, wage outlook, royal controversy echoes, and international diplomacy. Stay tuned for more updates. Please remember to like and subscribe. Laters Tigers.
Laters, indeed. Thank you very much indeed. Simon with another super chat. Thank you very much indeed. Kat Sunter says this: Mandelston should be kicked out of the Lords. How dare this despised man have a say on anything to do with this country? Well, I think that's a very valid point. And so many people now asking the question, how is it not possible to lose somebody from the House of Lords who has been involved in this much chicanery? That's the very least of it. I hate the current British government, says Hefai. I prefer reform, but they are just leftover Tories. Well, a lot of people are saying that, but you know, the point is that there's much to discuss, much to do through the course of this show. Thank you very much indeed to all of you who are watching and listening. Now we run all the way through to 9:30. I'm pleased to say we'll be talking between 9 and 9:30 to a pastor from the United States of America. That's Pastor, not ASTA, by the way. The latest on the poll, it's still got Peter Mandelson at the top. It's the sleaziest UK public figure, beating Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, Hugh Edwards and Matt Hancock put together, which is pretty extraordinary. Shocking state of affairs. We're going to talk now, though, on another shocking story to William Yarwood from the Taxpayers Alliance, because he has produced a report this morning which is absolutely staggering in the terms of the numbers that he's about to tell us about. And it's about the cost of social care for adult asylum seekers, which has almost tripled in 5 years. William, a very good morning to you. Welcome back to the show.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me on, man. Always great to see you.
Not at all. The figures in this piece that you've done, and it's an incredible piece of research because it's all about total spending by councils on social care for asylum seekers, including children, right, was almost 744 million in 2024-25. And in Kent, which is the highest spending council, 41.6 million in costs, up from just 10 million 4 or 5 years ago. Incredible.
Yeah, it's completely crazy, Mike. And the reason we've sort of done this is because people know a lot about the costs of asylum seeking and illegal migration in relation to hotels, in relation to freebies. We at the Taxpayers Alliance and Giro Folks have done quite a decent amount of work on that regarding what councils actually give local asylum seekers. But we're saying that this is sort of a hidden financial cost of our illegal migration crisis, wherein illegal migrants and asylum seekers can get access to our social care system in our local authorities, which, as I'm sure you know, Mike, is under absolutely intense levels of strain as it is, and is one of the core reasons why many local councils can't do anything. Because, of course, as we know, as I know, local councils do waste a lot of money, but a lot of the money they have to spend is because of a statutory obligation from Westminster to spend it on SEND and social care. And if now you're adding illegal migrants and asylum seekers to that overall social care bill, that means that social care bill is going up and up and up, meaning councils are going to have to direct even more money away from frontline public services into things like this.
Yeah, exactly right. And the thing that's extraordinary is this is over and above the cost that is having to be borne on migrant hotels, on houses of multiple occupancy, and on other kind of what you might call services for the health service and visits to doctors and transport and all the rest of the amounts of billions of pounds that we're spending. This is separate to that, right?
Yeah, it is. It is separate to that, and also one of the key problems with this is that actually within the adult social care support bits, that's including things like language services, so teaching them how to speak English. It's basic adult support. In regards to children, I mean, I think although overall in terms of the boats, about 20% are said to be children, within that, Mike, the 20% of the 20% are found actually not to be children. So some asylum seekers / illegal migrants will be getting money for child social care, despite the fact that they're not children, for crying out loud, which is obviously completely crazy. But yeah, also, as you mentioned earlier, Kent's obviously dealing with this in a very, very key way, in the way that they're actually closer to obviously the coast, and therefore they're bearing the brunt of it. But there's also areas, like Manchester, Bristol, which are also bearing the brunt. I mean, I think it's Kent, Hampshire, and Surrey who saw the largest real terms increases in their sort of combined asylum seeker social care costs between 2019 and 2025. And I mean, if you look at Surrey's, for example, they rose from zero spending on social care to over 23.9 billion. So one of the arguments might be made against this paper is, Taxpayers Alliance is going after, vulnerable people. That is not the case. This is clearly connected to the boats crisis. And as I've said many times on your show before, Mike, the only way to deal with this is to detain and deport all the legal migrants in the country.
Absolutely right. And I think the most shocking sort of section of the report that I'm looking at now is the three largest increases in real terms for combined asylum seeker social care expenditure between 2019 and 2025, Kent, Hampshire and Surrey. Kent's expenditure, as we said earlier, rose by 31.6 million, which is 319%. You had Hampshire seeing new expenditure on asylum seekers rising to 23.9 million in 2024-25 from zero. So literally 5 years ago, they were spending nothing on it. They're now finding 23.9 million. And in Surrey, the rise is even more extraordinary, really. From £1,243, that's just £1,000 to 22.6 million, which you guys have worked out as an increase of 1,800,000%. I mean, it's extraordinary. £33 per household on asylum seekers' social care costs. That's forget about migrant hotels, forget about the travel costs, forget about the costs of treating them for various different healthcare remedies. The average social care spending on asylum seekers per household across all local authorities in 2024-25 is 34 quid. So even if you're living in a place where it's relatively cheap, £34 a year is coming out of your council tax effectively to pay for this social care. William, we've got you back. It's a brilliant piece of research. Have you shown this to any government ministers and asked them what the hell they're doing?
Well, I think our plan is to show this, obviously, to the Conservative and Reform teams. And yes, of course, we send most of our research around to different Labour relevant ministers. But I'll be honest with you, Mike, if they actually bother reading it, that'll be a surprise to us. And if they bother doing anything about it, that'll also be a surprise to us as well. Like I said, the only real solution to this is to actually stop the pull factor. So first of all, you say that if you're an asylum seeker and a legal migrant, you don't get access to social care. And second of all, you should do what previous governments have failed to do, which is actually to solve the illegal migration crisis by detaining and deporting these people, so that ordinary local taxpayers and taxpayers more broadly across the country do not have to foot an ever-rising bill for illegal migration, whether it's in the form of hotels or freebies, or is now, as we revealed at the Taxpayers Alliance, a shadow social care system which they have no idea that they've actually been funding for a few years.
Yeah, I know. It's absolutely extraordinary. Brilliant piece of research, though. Brilliant piece of work. William, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Hopefully we'll see you again in the studio soon. William Yarwood there from the Taxpayers Alliance with a magnificent piece of research which brings to the fore the exact waste that is going on in this country. The amount of money that is being thrown at asylum seekers and asylum seeker remedies is really quite extraordinary. Now, we're going to talk very soon about more from the Epstein scenario, but there's so much more to do this morning as well. And I wanted to have a word with you about Keir Starmer, who is, of course, the man of the moment. He's back in the UK. He came back from Japan after meeting the Japanese Prime Minister, Sani Takachi, who apparently used to be a heavy metal drummer in a band, and she likes to ride around on a motorcycle. I'd like to have seen him get on the back of a motorbike, because you can imagine how nervous he would have been. But let's just talk about Keir Starmer for a moment and his trip to China, because as you heard from Simon Danchuk there, the fact that he went to China in the first place is already causing problems diplomatically with the United States of America. I know that Donald Trump is going to China as well, but that's not really the point. From Donald Trump's point of view, he clearly doesn't trust Keir Starmer. He clearly doesn't trust any deal that Keir Starmer promises to make. The Chagos Islands, for example, is still now a situation which is entirely up in the air ever since the White House said that they didn't think it was a good idea, and in fact, monumentally stupid idea, to give away the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, while at the same time paying massive amounts of money for it. Yesterday, Steve Reed, the Housing Secretary, was attempting to make out that the reason that the legislation has been pulled from the House of Commons has nothing to do with the fact that the Americans don't like it anymore, nothing to do with the fact that it's a bad idea to give a military base away to the Mauritians so that they can spy on it on behalf of China. Oh no, nothing to do with that at all. He said, oh no, somehow the legislation needs to be reworded, that sometimes because of procedural reasons, sometimes things have to be sorted out behind the scenes. Well, nobody's buying that, right? Keir Starmer went to see President Xi in China, and the whole trip was an embarrassment. You might remember seeing him being pushed and pulled around on a red carpet as he walked past some soldiers because he was walking in the wrong direction. You might remember him as well when we went to the Forbidden City. Not only was he forbidden from being seen on his own, they let a load of tourists wander around. When Donald Trump went to the Forbidden City, he had the whole place closed down so that he could see it just on his own. One British official described the various deals that he did as jam tomorrow. Because what did he get out of President Xi? What did he get from China? I'll tell you what he got from China. He got sweet FA. He got some Peking duck, which isn't duck at all, is it? And that's part of the problem. He got visas waived, which is what every other country in the world has got. So now if you want to go to China, you don't need a visa anymore. Brilliant. Well, I'm not going anytime soon. He also had the sanctions lifted against people like Ian Duncan Smith and Tom Tugendhat, Tory MPs who had been critical of China, and who both said, we're not interested in this, we didn't ask for it, we don't care whether the sanctions are lifted. As far as we're concerned, China is still a hostile state. What he also did was he handed them the keys, effectively, to the world's biggest Chinese embassy, which is going to be built and constructed in the centre of London, right next to Tower Bridge, in between the City of London and Canary Wharf, where all financial matters are dealt with. There's going to be 200 underground rooms inside the place. It's going to be the huge monolithic structure, one of the biggest buildings in Britain, and it's going to house every Chinese spy in the country. Also, he managed to get some cuts to whiskey tariffs. So what? From 10% to 5%. People who know the business of whiskey, which is a multi-billion pound business, say that 50 million quid to be saved by selling to China is a drop in the ocean. It doesn't mean anything at all. And all the various different agreements that were made actually don't benefit the British economy at all. In fact, the biggest deal that was done is actually a more benefit to the Chinese economy. I think it was AstraZeneca who have gone in and basically decided to invest hundreds of millions of pounds in China, not in the UK. So all in all, it was a complete and utter waste of time. Meanwhile, all that happened while he was away was that the by-election slipping away further and further from him up north in Manchester. Is he even going to go and actually campaign up there? I'm sure he isn't. Meanwhile, his former ambassador to the United States of America, appointed by him, is now being called all sorts of names, and calls are being made for him to be stripped of his peerage and to be kicked out of the House of Lords because of the fact that he was so close to Jeffrey Epstein that we've now got a picture of him standing in his underpants in one of his houses. I mean, it's just incredible what's going on. The high street, meanwhile, is going down the gurgler. Unemployment is going to be higher this week ever from the past 5 years. We're going to be seeing alcohol tax going up, putting more pubs out of business. Rachel Reeves is going to be telling people who are on £48,000 a year that they've got to pay more tax. The whole business of this country is going down the gurgler. Keir Starmer thought it was a great idea to go to China and then to go to Japan. Well, like all of his ideas, it wasn't a good idea. It was a bad idea. And Keir Starmer edges ever closer to the dole queue himself. I, for one, could not be happier. So just bear that in mind as the day proceeds. Thank you very much indeed. This is the Mike Graham Show. Now, we've already told you about the heron and the problem with the heron, basically that it's not a heron. We've now got 4.2 thousand likes on the show, which is brilliant. So thank you very much to all of you for that. Lots and lots of you have got great things to say as well about what is going on in the news today. So much to talk about. Nicola says this: you can keep the crane and just say identifies as a heron. Well, I mean, apparently it identifies as a heron on Amazon. According to the man that supplied it to us. So there we are. Front pages this morning. New Epstein victim. I was sent for sex with Andrew. That's on the front page of the Times. Daily Mail. Andrew in new Epstein legal threat. Adjoining with that, a picture of disgraced Lord Mandelson, who's quit Labour, obviously having been told to do so. Mandelson quits over his pal Epstein in the Sun, and a big spread in the Sun, which is extraordinary. Which has got that horrible picture of Prince Andrew, or as he was once known, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, on all fours, sort of leering and leaning over a young woman whose face you can't see, who appears to have blonde hair and appears to be lying flat on her back on the floor, trafficked for sex at Royal Lodge, is what that says. And then when you look at the pictures on the front pages of the papers, bring justice for Epstein victims, Andrew and Mandelson told. That's the I newspaper. On the front of the Telegraph, Mandelson faces order for Epstein evidence. It really is all becoming incredibly sleazy, even more sleazy than it was a couple of weeks ago. Let's talk to Marilyn Hawes right now to find out what she makes of it all. Marilyn, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, how are you?
Very well indeed. Great to have you back. Thank you so much indeed. Peter Mandelson, Lord Mandelson, is leading our poll as the most sort of disgraced and sleazy person in Britain, even worse actually than Andrew. How is it possible for him to still be in the House of Lords? Says that, he doesn't remember getting a $75,000 payment from Jeffrey Epstein. He says he's going to have to investigate himself in order to work out what to do next.
Well, I mean, it's just absolutely outrageous, isn't it? The whole thing is, I mean, this is a bunch of grubby, narcissistic, wealthy, entitled, powerful men who think it's perfectly okay to violate women, girls, and there are also some boys as well. I think, without fear or favour, they should all be... Andrew, absolutely, he's a total slug. He should go back to Congress. Why should he be saved and rescued? I mean, Mandelson, I've never liked him. I've always thought he was a slippery, manipulative snake. He's very, very articulate and measured with the things he says, but underneath it, I've never liked him. But, what is also about this, terrible about this, is these girls... they're women now, but they were little girls at the time. They were young teenagers, and their names are in these documents that are coming out. Whilst the powerful men, a lot of their names have been redacted. I mean, Andrew, who would want to have him as a father? Do you know, I really feel sorry for her. But Beatrice and Eugenie, they're innocent. As for their mother, Sarah Ferguson, she's another parasite, isn't she? She should be going over to Congress. That, Andrew, what annoys me, it really annoys me, is that he if you knew you had an associate and a friend who was a paedophile, what would you do? You wouldn't get on a plane to Central Park and have a little
No.
chat with him, would you? You'd ghost him and say you would never reply to him again. He's up to his neck in it. And I just think this has to go the whole distance, quick and fast, over to over to Congress, because I also for the royal family, I mean, it's absolutely dreadful. And the victims, you're on about the survivors, not everyone survives. Then the trauma that some of these women have suffered because of the invasive thing that happened to them as youngsters is horrific. I mean, 80% of bad mental health is created by trauma in childhood. And these women, I mean, there may be women now, but at the time, they as I say, they were children. And Giselle, what's her name? What about her? What's her name? I can't remember her name. The woman, she may well have been groomed by Epstein. But what right-minded woman, once you realise what you're doing by fasilitating these women for his sexual pleasure, what right-minded woman would continue with that? She's up to her neck in it as well. A whole grubby lot of them. I find it repellent. It's disgusting. It absolutely makes me vomit. And to see Mandelson in his underpants, ugh.
Oh, I know.
And Andrew crawling over that poor woman. Well, at least she was 26. I mean, there's a thing called consent. She didn't have to do it, did she? But, I mean, he is such an embarrassment. I mean, I don't think he should be protected at all. He should be pushed out onto Civvy Street like anybody else and have to manage for himself.
Yeah, because don't forget, Mandelson will have a pension that will have been provided by the House of Commons. He'll have a European pension from the EU, from when he was a commissioner there. He'll also have a House of Lords payment system that he can claim every time he goes in there. God knows what else he gets from being an ambassador. He might get another pension from that. This is all public money, by the way, Marilyn, that he's getting.
I know.
And as for seeing him in his underpants on breakfast television, it's enough to put you off your sausages, isn't it?
Oh my God! I mean, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was like, it's just absolutely repugnant. It really is. I mean, honestly, the whole thing is, but no one is really, and this is where I come in with my bit. It's the victims. It's how much have they survived? It's what's happening to them. It is so salacious, this, for sort of the public to sort of munch away on. And it is a disgusting, revolting story. But they won't be the only one. I mean, look what El Fayed from Harrods was up to. These powerful, entitled, wealthy men think they can get away with murder. It's abuse of power. And it happens across the world in all sorts of organisations. And it just needs to be exposed. People need to speak it out. And I just think it's outrageous. I mean, as you say, how can he stay in the House of Lords? How can Starmer, the biggest traitor ever, still keep his title?
I know, it's extraordinary, isn't it? And also, let's not forget, Starmer was not that many weeks ago offering his full confidence in Lord Peter Mandelson. He said he knew everything about what he'd been up to and that he was satisfied that there was no problem. So what does that tell you about his judgment, one, and also the vetting process for appointing these people to these very high-powered jobs? It turns out it goes all the way back to Robert Maxwell, the former owner of the Daily Mirror and ghastly individual who I happen to know in my previous life. I interviewed him once, a foul-mouthed, horrible, fat scumbag who ended up sort of dying in a very mysterious way, falling off his boat in the Mediterranean. Nobody shed any tears for that. But I also saw, they used to call him the bouncing check. They also, I saw yesterday, I don't know if you did, a couple of very disturbing video images on Twitter of Epstein chasing what looked like two very young girls around a table in his house.
Yes, you cannot tell me that Mandelson, Andrew didn't know that was going on. I mean, were they walking around with blindfolds on? It's utter nonsense. And I'd love to know the names of the pilot that used to fly people around. He kept a log, didn't he, of all the names? Those names need to be out there.
Yeah.
Every one of them, whoever they are, needs to be in Congress and answering to lawyers without fear or favour. It doesn't matter who they are, because otherwise this is going to drip on and on and on. And the only people that are getting traumatised from this are the young women who were little girls at the time. And no one's thinking about them. And it's just awful to have it dragged through again, the memory of what they went through and the denial and the creepy, revolting, having those men, hands all over you, disgusting disgust me. It absolutely disgusts me. I mean, look in the mirror, for goodness sake. There's not a decent bloke among them. They're all revolting.
Yeah.
And I quite like men.
Yeah, I know. Well, luckily, we're not all like that. You know, it has to be said. But what about the royal family's involvement now in all of this? Because somebody was saying to me this morning, if, for example, and this woman, this second woman who's on the front pages this morning, decides to hire a lawyer and decides to come after Andrew, he doesn't have that much money now because he's already given most of it away to Virginia Giuffre, having borrowed it from Mummy, right? He won't be able to go to his brother, the king, and ask him for any. And even if he does, if King Charles was to give him money to pay off another woman, surely that could potentially bring the monarchy down.
Well, of course. Of course. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of... I think the person that people most like is probably William and Kate. But I think if his father did that, I think William would have... I don't think there's any love lost between William and Andrew. I really don't. He is and I think the royal family have got to actually kick his ass and make him... You know, so he's got not a lot of money. Well, neither have I. Neither have a lot of people. But you still have to find a way to pay your bills and pay your any legal fees that you have. Why should he be protected in some place stuck up in Norfolk because of what he's done? And I say, what about Sarah Ferguson? Oh, I thought of Epstein as my brother. Really? Well, if that's what like, I'm glad I don't have one. I mean, she's as bad. She's a parasite. Yeah. She cannot have known what was going on. I don't believe any of them when they say they didn't know. It's absolutely bonkers. And I mean. And she has staff that knew, and they should be coming out and making statements as well. There has to be an end to this. And anybody and everybody, it doesn't matter if it's Clinton or whoever it is, they need to be at Congress and let's lay this to bed and get on with it. Yeah. Because I'm sick. Honestly, it makes me feel sick.
I know. Really does. Well, what about Hillary Clinton? I mean, Bill and Hillary Clinton were asked to make a statement before Congress. They refused to do it. They've sent a written statement in. They refused to be questioned. They shouldn't be allowed to do that.
And of course not. Why would you do that? If you were innocent, if Andrew was innocent, if I was accused of things that I absolutely haven't done, I'd be on the first plane to America and get me into court right now. I want to say I'm innocent. They're all hiding away. He paid off that woman. Well, there you go. Guilty as charged, aren't you? Mummy paid the bill. I mean, it's just outrageous. The whole thing, they're a bunch of slime balls. They really are. There's not anything you couldn't put, all right, so Mandelson's at the top of the hit list for being unpopular. You couldn't put a bit of tissue paper between them. They are all grubby little slugs, or big fat slugs, actually. They just disgust me. Absolutely. I'm cross. You might think I'm cross. I'm not cross. I am cross. I'm really cross because I'm sick of it. I mean, I do this all the time with ordinary kids and every day that are being abused and violated by some grubby man that they knew, and also women, because they do it as well. Don't forget, because Ghislaine Maxwell, I don't think she was innocent either.
Well, she's the only person who's done time apart from Epstein. You know, where's everybody else's punishment?
Exactly, all of them. But you see, if I was her, but she'd probably be topped, wouldn't she? I would blow the whistle and name them all. She must know them, but then she'd probably be topped off, wouldn't she? What sort of life is she having behind bars anyway? I mean, I just can't.
I know. It's absolutely shocking. It's absolutely shocking.
There's not one decent thing you can say about this case at all, but it has to be brought to an end. And I think the royal family they really need to rescue themselves here and say, right, look, this is enough. Off you go, Andrew. We never want to see you again. Out you go from your house that we're homing you up in. Tough. You know, kick him out. I mean, I know lots of people that have had to say goodbye to their children because they're just you just can't abide with them. You know, and there's no moral compass here. I mean, Ghislaine Maxwell had no moral compass. I don't think none of them have.
No. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. Listen, Marilyn, you're very popular as ever for being on and speaking your mind.
Don't forget, Mike, I'm also a presenter at Unprecedented TV. I don't do that.
Absolutely. No, listen, people should go watch you there as well. Unprecedented TV. Brilliant stuff. Marilyn, great to see you. Thank you so much for your passion and for your beliefs and for your incredible energy, to be honest, this time of the morning. You know, I don't know how you do it. Great to see you. Marilyn Hawes there.
Thanks, Mike.
Sleaziest UK public figure in our poll this morning. Peter Mandelson, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, Hugh Edwards or Matt Hancock. As I said, you wouldn't want to share a bus with them, would you? Or a minibus even. Peter Mandelson comes in as the top with 53%. Half of that, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, 26%. Hugh Edwards down at 15%. And Matt Hancock gets away with it, with just 6% of people thinking that he's the sleaziest public figure. You can go and vote on that. We've got nearly 5,000 votes on it already on the YouTube chat, and we're very, very grateful to all of you who are liking the show. 4.5 thousand likes today, which is the biggest one I think we've ever had. Mike, keep the crane but free the sausages, says Lord Viking. Chrissy says, I pity the voice of sensible people is so rarely heard. Marilyn Hawes, one of the best guests ever, says Bavaria. Marilyn took no prisoners, says Plant Seeds. Absolutely right. Jimmy Savile, a regular visitor in Royal Circle, says Louise, and Downing Street for that matter. But hey, I bet nobody had any idea what he was doing. Well, it does seem to be extraordinary, doesn't it? Aristotle, Super Chat, says this: Iran protests, IRGC must stop killing protesters. Well, they don't seem to be showing any signs of stopping, do they? In fact, they're making an awful lot of noise, basically about, a regional war being started if the Americans do anything that might be considered to be somehow aggressive. Another Super Chat here from Laura Jane. I live in Gloucester, and it's so sad to see so many empty shops and pubs that have shut down. Pubs are an important part of British culture. I do my best to support pubs and independent businesses. It's so hard, though, isn't it, Laura Jane? And if you own a pub and if you run a pub, many people have said we should do a sort of pub of the day to try and push the agenda of pubs, which we are actively discussing. We're just trying to figure out the best way to do it, to be honest. So thank you indeed for all of your suggestions. Some of them are pedants, some of them are not. But we take all of your advice on board. We absolutely do. Rolling Thunder says, speaking as a birder, it is a white stork. You're talking about the heron, which is in the corner over there, which apparently, they say, it's now being said, the common sense perspective says, how about you name it Heron the Crane? Well, I suppose you could. I mean, the problem is, right, it's not a heron. But people say we should keep it anyway. We've got lots more to talk about. We're going to be speaking as well to a councillor coming up shortly. And also, in the next hour, Pastor Mark Burns, who is, of course, a very big associate and supporter of President of the United States, Donald Trump. Lynn says, a brilliant show this morning, although I'm entirely depressed now living in such a corrupt country. What's on the menu? Sleaze and sleazy illegals. Get them out. Get reform in. Well, there's a big by-election coming up, of course, not far from now, February the 26th, just a few weeks away. We'll be bringing you the news on all of the candidates that are running in that as well over the course of the next few days and weeks. Right now, though, let us go and get some news with Edward Hughes.
Good morning, it's Monday the 2nd of February, I'm Edward Hughes. In the UK, a new fuel price transparency rule takes effect today. All petrol stations must report price changes to a government database within 30 minutes, aiming to help drivers find cheaper fuel more easily amid ongoing cost of living pressures. Business surveys indicate most employers plan pay rises of 3% to 3.5% for 2026, a level slightly above what some Bank of England officials prefer as they work to control inflation. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has urged former Prince Andrew to cooperate fully with US investigations into Jeffrey Epstein connections, including potentially testifying before Congress following renewed focus on the Epstein files. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper travels to Ethiopia to discuss migration measures, emphasizing job creation partnerships and anti-smuggling cooperation to reduce irregular arrivals in the UK. Other developments include the ongoing push for economic growth under Labour, with business leaders calling for bolder action amid flashing warning lights, plus new direct Indigo flights launching from Delhi to London Heathrow. Immigration policy consultations continue, with deadlines today for input on shortage occupations. Overall, the day mixes regulatory changes, wage outlook, royal controversy echoes, and international diplomacy. Stay tuned for more updates. Please remember to like and subscribe. Laters Tigers.
Thank you very much indeed. Edward Hughes there with the news. A lot of you are getting more used to the voice of Edward Hughes, and many fewer of you now complaining. Although I've got this from Event TV. Sack Edward Hughes, he's old news. That's a bit harsh. Not to mention how much councils have collected council tax, have stashed money in second bank accounts, says Geordie. This AI voice is horrendous, says Lined Well. It's my moral duty to pay as little tax as possible, says Plant Seeds. And Jan says this, because if you haven't seen it, you might want to go and check it out. Liz Truss, of course, the former Prime Minister, was here on my show last Wednesday, but she also interviewed me as well. And Jan says this, that she spotted it. Liz Truss interviewing Mike and Dan Wootton was excellent. So many awesome long-form interviews on the new independent media now. The BBC, etc., is toast. the BBC certainly is toast. They're apparently going to think about trying to charge people for listening to the radio. I mean, what a ridiculous idea that is. Who's going to pay the BBC to listen to all that drivel? Have you heard Radio 4 lately? It's absolutely ridiculous. It's hopeless. It's awful. In fact, even the Today Show presenters are all leaving. Amal Rajan's leaving to set up on his own. What's his face? Nick Robinson is likely to be made head of news, so he won't be presenting it anymore. And it turns out as well that Emma Barnett, the other woman who's on the show, is also leaving. Coming up, we're going to be speaking to a Norfolk County Council member, Simon Ring, who's an independent, who said he's planning to resign and fight to win back his seat in protest at the postponement of elections. So we'll begin from him, straight from the horse's mouth, precisely what he wants to do exactly. And we're also going to have an example of the rudeness of this Labour government very shortly as well. But also, one of the things that we did at the weekend was we put out Plonk of the Week, which of course was myself and Chris Walkie, along with his son Oliver, joined by special guest Donald McLeod. Have a look. I've been told to hold this up right in front of my face, but apparently when there's something in it, there's nothing in it at the moment because it's about to be filled, or at least, you know, given a little bit of a soup song by Chris Walkie, who's here. Chris, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Welcome to Thursday edition, unusually, of Plonk of the Week, and of course, formerly known as On the Piste with Mike Graham. We've got a special guest today as well. Donald Cameron McLeod of the Clan McLeod has joined us from Scotland. He's had a little sleep since he was last on. And as you can see, Donald, we've got a vast array here of... we've got a vast array. He's always got stuff with him. No, shocking. A vast array of what looks like some very nice looking sparkling wines. I have to tell you, actually, Chris, last week, I don't know whether you've heard this from Pooch, but we obviously don't drink all of it, as you might expect, particularly because we've got work to do, and we've got to do Plank of the Week after this as well. So we put a couple of the bottles in the fridge, and it's a horizontal wine fridge, right? Yeah. So you have to lay the bottle down, and we managed to put the corks in. And Pooch was, am I allowed to say this? Yeah. Was having a bit of a nap on the sofa because he didn't want to go home in case his wife gave him something to do. And, he said there was suddenly this huge explosion. And
really?
one of the corks just shot out of the bottle, shot the door open, and poured all this champagne all over the rug. So which you then had to clean. Yeah, that was Plonk of the Week, which was filmed on Thursday morning. Shortly thereafter, we filmed Plank of the Week, which is also out there as well for your delectation, starring Kelvin MacKenzie, Jamie Jenkins, and Donald McLeod. It's quite an interesting one, this, because obviously we continued drinking throughout it, which we're vowing not to do again because we think that we might have got a bit far. Never mind. We got 4.9 thousand likes today on the show, which is more than we've ever had, and it's all been based around the heron that's not a heron. We've turned out to have discovered that the heron is in fact a crane. There it is, empty chair next to it. Remember when they empty chaired Boris Johnson on Have I Got News For You, which I can't really say is something I particularly like as a show. But there we are, another BBC load of old cobblers. But we've got another challenge for you, because if we can get to 5.5 thousand, we will keep the crane and we will not get rid of it. If we get to 6,000 likes, we'll get rid of it. And we might even actually auction it off and send the money to charity and get people to pay. There he is. Oh, he's moved in next door. Pooch is going to show you something in a minute. The heron is encroaching into the space. There it is. The heron stroke. He's not liking it. He's not liking it. He's kind of moving a bit. Do you remember when you go around one of those lakes and you see a swan coming after you? It's never a good thing because they can. Have we done Heron of the Day? I don't think we have. We have actually got one, I think, haven't we? Yeah. So let's have a look at it. If you can chuck it up there for us. Photo taken a few years ago from my office in Chertsey, says Peter. There's one on the roof. I saw some herons on my travels today, says Katie Boots. They don't look real though, do they? Maybe we should get one of those. It looks like a... Yeah, I mean, it's easy to mistake the crane and the heron, I would say. They do look similar. This from LTL. Morning, Mike. I do everything I can to support my local pub, but we are nearly £8 a pint now. It's getting a bit much. Keep up the great work. Well, as I said, because there was a piece at the weekend that I saw, it turns out that out of that £8, the publican who is pulling the pint and serving you is only going to make about 47 to 50 pence, because we have got the highest alcohol tax, of course, in the entire continent of Europe. Absolutely ridiculous. We pay some ludicrous amount of tax, something like 50-odd%, whereas in Germany, if you buy a pint of beer or a litre of beer, it's an awful lot less. It's only like 5%. Absolutely ridiculous. Donald still trying to give us a reason why he managed to make this mistake. He says, I've just checked on Google. Apparently a crane has a straight neck, but a heron has an S-shaped neck, so it's a bloody heron. And that's the last thing I'm going to say on the matter. Well, like I said, if you get to 5.5k on the likes, we'll keep the heron. If you get it to 6k, we're getting rid of it. Maybe we'll just send it back to Donald. We can put it up in his house. We're going to talk to Simon Ring in a moment. He's an independent councillor in Norfolk County Council. He became absolutely incensed, as many of us have done, about the fact that the Labour government have decided just to kill off so many local elections. 4.5 million people who won't be able now to have a vote on who actually runs their council, because, quite frankly, the Labour government doesn't care about you. And as an example of just how bad the Labour government has become, have a look at this. This is Lucy Powell at the weekend talking on a television show and really revealing just what kind of individual she is.
Security.
The question about how much it's going to cost.
Are you talking over me again?
I'm asking you.
Are you talking over me again?
You asked
Are you?
Richard,
Okay, can I speak?
Richard and Lucy, just
Can I speak?
cool it.
Nonsense and can't even
Right, well, hang on. I will come
Stop
back to you.
speaking over me.
But
It is rude.
Lucy, answer.
I mean, have a look at that again, because it's so awful that you can't quite believe it.
Security.
The question about how much it's going to cost.
Are you talking over me again?
I'm asking you.
Are you talking over me again?
You asked
Are you?
Richard,
Okay, can I speak?
Richard and Lucy, just
Can I speak?
cool it.
Nonsense and can't even
Right, well, hang on. I will come
Stop
back to you.
speaking over me.
But
It is rude.
Lucy, answer.
Stop speaking over me is rude. She keeps speaking over him to say. It's unbelievable, isn't it? That's Richard Holden there, who's a shadow minister in the Tory party, of course, and Lucy Powell. I'm not even sure what she does anymore, but what a ghastly kind of episode, an exhibition of how terribly rude and just how uncaring this government is. They don't think that you're entitled to an opinion. They don't think that you're entitled to even have a say in what it is that they do. We found out this morning from a piece in the Times that once again government ministers are lying about the NHS. They're paying £3 million a month to remove patients from hospital waiting lists, making it look like the health service is treating more people than it actually is. This is what I've been saying for a long time. This is analysis of official NHS statistics by the Times, which reveals that the 86,000 people drop, which apparently Keir Starmer was boasting about just 2 weeks ago, which he said was the largest fall in a month for over 2 years, is not true. He said these aren't just numbers, it is thousands of people getting the care that they need. But it turns out that people are being just simply removed from waiting lists, their names being just taken off them because of what they're calling something called validation, which basically can be anything from you being sent a letter which you don't reply to, asking if you still need a procedure, and if you don't answer it, they knock you off the list. It might also be because people have been taken into private care and therefore they've disappeared off the list. You know, the point is that the waiting lists are not reducing in number because people are being treated, because more people are being treated. That is a lie, and that is the current narrative being put out not only by Keir Starmer, but by Wes Streeting as well. So they're basically lying to you, which I presume would also mean that they're lying about everything else, including why you can't have an election, including why, for some reason, in Norfolk, Simon Ring, an independent councillor, says people should be allowed to exercise their democratic right to choose. Simon joins me now from Norfolk. Simon, a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Morning, Mike.
Good to see you. I'm happy to see you taking democracy seriously, unlike this government, who don't seem to think that it matters anymore.
Well, that clip says it all, really, that you've just showed. Speaking over somebody, telling them that they shouldn't speak over them is the demonstration of irony with national politicians. They have no idea what goes on at a local level, and they don't care about people's voice. They don't care that The vast majority of people out there want to have their say. And despite the fact that the turnout at elections is pretty low these days, the majority do care, and they don't want their vote taken away.
Well, also, it's everybody's right to vote or not to vote. You know, it's not the government's right to remove your ability to choose which one of those things you want to do. You know, I mean, I've heard an argument made before that, you know, it's your own fault because you didn't turn out to vote in very many big numbers last time we had an election. But I'm sorry, I'm not buying that, because people, as I say, have the choice in a democracy whether to vote or not.
Yeah, and if you've got that argument, then what we should have in this country is a compulsory vote with a none of the above box on the ballot sheet, and as they do a similar system in Australia. And I'd quite like to see how many none of the aboves win the election on the basis of the calibre of people in national politics coming forward, as you've just seen, is appalling, absolutely appalling. But the calibre of politicians coming forward at a local level is not appalling. Yes, there's some lightweights. Yes, there's the freeloaders. Of course there are. There are in all areas of life. But there are a vast number of politicians in a local level who just want to support their residents and do what I've done, find I had the time, stand up and represent people that I've lived with all my life.
Yeah. And tell us what made you come to this particular momentous decision, because it is a momentous decision for you to say that you're going to resign and then sort of try and win your seat back.
Yeah, it is. I'm in a better position than most because some people rely on the allowance and the funding funds that you get from being a politician. I don't. So from that point of view, I'm not taking a risk. But I'm taking a risk from a reputational point of view. If I lose at the by-election that will be held, then I hope I lose because I'm not doing a very good job. I think I am doing a very good job, and the response that I've had has been phenomenal. But I think the final straw for me, I mean, I did think that this was going to get cancelled. We were running a little side bet in the borough council where I'm at as well about whether it would get cancelled, and I believed it would. And when I saw the letter sent back by the Conservative leader of the Norfolk County Council to the response question from Stephen Reid saying, do you want the elections cancelled or not? And Kay Mason-Billig did everything she could not to say, please cancel the elections.
Right.
She didn't say, don't cancel. That's an important point. She gave all the reasons in favour of cancelling without saying cancel. And she didn't have the courage to say, I think we should cancel the elections. And the reasons, the cost base, the resources, it's nonsense, absolute nonsense. There's no price that you can put on democracy that says you should cancel.
No. And of course, it was delayed already once, which is part of the reason why people are so annoyed second time around, because we were told last year, and I say we because I spent some time in East Sussex, which has been also, put on the long finger, as it were. We were told this was a purely kind of administrative problem that needed to be got around because it was complicated to somehow meld together all of these different local councils. And I have to say this, Simon, I've been seeking an explanation for exactly what this is all about for over a year now. I even asked Professor Curtis up in Edinburgh, or up in Scotland rather, to tell us exactly what this kind of gerrymandering organisational change was. And even he couldn't really explain it. I mean, do you even understand what it is that they say they're trying to do?
No. What they say they're trying to do is to stop wasted money on unnecessary elections. What they say they're trying to do is wait until it's clearer regarding devolution and local government reorganisation. But as you know, devolution has been delayed now here for 2 years. And so to delay this once more on the basis that local government reorganisation is coming in and shadow unitary elections will be next year, so let's do it all at the same time. We don't know whether we are going to get LGR yet. The statutory instruments have not been laid. I hope we do, because I'm desperate to take away as a borough councillor the power from the centre that is held so dearly by Norwich in Norfolk, and I'm sure it's the same in Suffolk with Ipswich. But let's be brutally honest about it. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room here. they want to cancel elections, both Labour and Conservative, because they fear losing their power. It's as simple as that. No other reason. They can paint it however they wish. Now, I'm an independent councillor. I have no interest in national party politics at a local level. We shouldn't have national party politics at a local level. You should not have a decision to make as a local councillor whether to follow your whip demands or follow your residents' needs. It's simple. So let's just get rid of the national party politics at a local level, and let's all be independent councillors with no affiliation to anyone at a local level. And this is about power. Simple as that. And that's why democracy has been eroded around the country. We see it in the United States, we see it in Europe, and we're seeing it here. That power is being lost by the key to the parties, and they don't like it. Well, if you want to have a fair voting system in this country, have a proportional representation process. There's a real danger at the next election. We're going to have a government that's going to have a majority with less than 30% of the popular vote. That's not democracy. That scares me. Can you imagine that? It's bad enough with what we've got now. Which is insane that we've got 35% of the popular vote the last election, and they've got a vast majority that they can do absolutely whatever they like, in particular cancelling elections and cancelling democracy. It's appalling.
It really is appalling. And of course, even the Labour government nationally kind of opted out in a way from making the decision, didn't they? Because they sort of said, oh, we don't want to be imposing this on anybody. We want to ask their opinion and see what they want to do. I mean, it's like, as I said before on the show, it's as if they think my head zips up the back. I'm not that stupid. I know exactly what they're doing, and we know exactly why they're doing it. And it's almost like everything else that this government does, nobody really believes a word they say.
No, they don't. But let's take the colour of the government out. The last lot were no better either, were they?
No. Well, as has been proven by your situation in Norfolk, because it's a Tory council who's decided not to have the election.
Yeah, and the truth is, neither of them wanted the election, and Stephen Reid nor Kay Mason Billig wanted the election. So we had this ping pong back and forward, where the response she sent in, he then sent a response saying, oh, can you clarify that? She then sends a response saying, nothing to add, speak to the hand. And then he cancels the election because he's not getting an adult conversation with her. Well, it wasn't an adult conversation on both sides. And it should never have been a conversation in the first place.
No. And in terms of what people will not be able to do now, because there's no guarantee really, is there, that there's going to be an election anytime in the near future at this point?
No, there isn't. And just to be clear, I've announced my intention to resign to force a by-election, but I'm holding back because the statutory instrument that they're laying before Parliament, which is being challenged by reform, it could have in it the cancellation of by-elections. I don't know what these people are going to do. So there's no way I'm resigning as of today. I will resign when I know whether that statutory instrument is approved or not, and the details of that instrument. So, provided that they do not prevent by-elections, at the moment you can't have you don't have a by-election within 6 months of a statutory election. All they've got to do is say you can't have a by-election within 12 months or 15 months, and because it's meant to then be next May. And so I just don't trust anything that comes out of these people's mouths. And sadly, that is national politics. We do not have any politicians we can actually trust at a national level. They're all at local level, and they daren't stand up and be counted.
No. Well, funnily enough, I was watching Laura Kunsberg yesterday for my sins. It's one of the few BBC shows I actually watch on a Sunday, partly just to get irritated. Angela Rippon was on, making an awful lot of sense. She was on one of the panels. She just said, the trouble is we now live in a country where there is no trust in the government. Nobody believes anything that they say. Nobody is interested in what they say they're going to do because they don't do it. And we are in a kind of political crisis, it seems to me.
Yeah, we are. And we don't have any beast of Bolsovers left that just say what they believe. And it doesn't matter whether you agree with them or not. You trusted that was their opinion, their true opinion, and you respected them for having that opinion. We're all allowed to have different opinions. But you don't get that. I mean, I remember once Harriet Harman was on Radio 5 Live in one of her many leadership role or temporary leadership roles at the Labour Party. And there was some, I can't remember what the issue was, but Nicky Campbell said, "Why do you never agree with each other?" And Harriet Harman said, "Nicky, my title is Leader of the Opposition. My job is to oppose."
Yeah.
No, it isn't. Your job is to keep the government to account, not to oppose. The only time we ever agree with anyone in national government is when there's a disaster. Why can't people go, "Do you know what? That's a good idea. I think I can go with that." They never do, because their job is to oppose. No. If you look at what we're doing over here in West Norfolk, we're an independent-led local council, and we work with everybody, and we get together, we make decisions together. They can't do that at national level. They don't do it at county level because they have the power to ignore other people, and that's why we don't need these vast majorities that we have with our voting system. It's wrong.
And as you say, for some of the kind of disaster level debates that are held, they actually don't ask enough questions in those situations. You know, the Iraq War, everybody went, "Oh yeah, okay, let's just go." Lockdowns, yep, let's do it. Let's just have an even longer lockdown. You know, nobody was asking any questions, because if you did, you were perceived to be some kind of pariah of the country.
Yeah, and part of the reason for that is because of the abuse of statistics. People use, you mentioned it earlier, that about statistics. You know, the abuse of statistics is absolutely appalling in government these days. I mean, you just take this issue of cancelling elections. I'm being told that my by-election will cost £25,000. No, it won't. The staff that is counted within that £25,000, they're still being employed.
Yeah.
They're employed at the district levels to run the by-elections and the normal elections. They're not being paid overtime for it. They are being paid. Now, that's not all of the cost. Yes, there's some mail-out costs and such like, and hire of the polling booth, 3 of them, by the way.
Right.
That's all. But to then put a figure of 25 grand to say I'm costing the taxpayer 25 grand is absurd.
Right.
Half that money at least is already being paid for. It's already there, and that happens. So you're not in control of where these stats come from when you're challenging them.
No.
So you're afraid to stand up, and that's what I think is happening all the time. And it's just abuse of numbers. It really is.
It really is. And finally, just for people who are in your area in Norfolk, and maybe in other areas where things are not going well either, and elections are not going to be held, what about the issue? I mean, what issues would you say are now not going to be dealt with as a result of there not being an opportunity for people to vote for who they want in?
Well, the very decision over local government reorganisation, which I do agree with, I'm happy with it, because it does devolve power, if we get 3 unitaries, not 1, to where it needs to be at. But the very decision over that is coming up, which is one of the excuses that is being given, that you don't want a whole load of new councillors to come in and who are green around the gills to change the decision. Well, I'm sorry, that's what elections do. You don't know how many existing experienced councillors, and quite frankly, when I look at the majority of the Conservative group at County Council, I don't see experience there. I see jaded. I see fed up. I see controlled by their leader because they have a whip. So what we're missing here is having a much more democratic decision-making process for the next 2 years, and we're not going to get it.
And that is a tragedy, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great to see you. Simon Ring, thank you very much indeed. We wish you a lot of luck, and keep us informed what you decide to do if you do decide
You're welcome.
to have
I
an
look
election.
forward to coming back on in May with my victory shield.
Absolutely right, brilliant. And a lot of fans out there for you as well, saying, I wish there were more politicians like you with some actual integrity and some very, very common sense ideas. Thank you very much indeed. Simon Ring, who is, of course, Norfolk councillor, independent councillor, who's threatened basically to resign and force a by-election so that he can be voted back in order to show his distaste and absolute disgust at the way that the council leaders have all decided to go along with Labour government policy, which is not to bother having an election this year, having not bothered to have one last year, and then maybe not bothering to have another one for some time to come. But even he isn't sure if he can push the envelope too far, because he says they might just change the rules again and say you can't have a by-election. And that is where we are in this country. You know, people joke about the Stasi, and we call Keir Starmer Keir Stalin, because they're operating like the Chinese Communist Party. They're operating with lies, they're operating with misdeeds, they're operating with complete and utter distaste and disgust for the populace of this country and for the people who actually vote them in. We live in a dictatorship, says KM, Stasi the commie. Well, yeah, exactly right. The ballot box is where we need the revolution, says Gareth. True local representation for locals has been eroded, says Red Black. Make it compulsory to vote, even if you mar your voting slip, says Ruth. Well, I think there's a lot to be said for that. And an awful lot of people saying that Simon Ring is absolutely brilliant. Thank goodness you got him on. Please get him on again, says Jack, as I haven't checked all of his books. Yeah, definitely bookcase of the day there. An awful lot of books were on show. Now, coming up, we've got more great things to talk about. I'll give you a run through of the papers as well very shortly, and all the big stories on the front pages and elsewhere. Right now, though, it's time for the news with Edward Hughes.
Good morning, it's Monday the 2nd of February. I'm Edward Hughes. In the UK, a new fuel price transparency rule takes effect today. All petrol stations must report price changes to a government database within 30 minutes, aiming to help drivers find cheaper fuel more easily amid ongoing cost of living pressures. Business surveys indicate most employers plan pay rises of 3% to 3.5% for 2026, a level slightly above what some Bank of England officials prefer as they work to control inflation. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has urged former Prince Andrew to cooperate fully with US investigations into Jeffrey Epstein connections, including potentially testifying before Congress following renewed focus on the Epstein files. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper travels to Ethiopia to discuss migration measures, emphasizing job creation partnerships and anti-smuggling cooperation to reduce irregular arrivals in the UK. Other developments include the ongoing push for economic growth under Labour, with business leaders calling for bolder action amid flashing warning lights, plus new direct Indigo flights launching from Delhi to London Heathrow. Immigration policy consultations continue, with deadlines today for input on shortage occupations. Overall, the day mixes regulatory changes, wage outlook, royal controversy echoes, and international diplomacy. Stay tuned for more updates. Please remember to like and subscribe. Laters Tigers.
That is, of course, Edward Hughes with the news. A lot of people saying, can we not get Edward back with the moving mouth? We can try doing that. I don't know what the story is there. What's happening with voice notes? That was a big part of your last show, and we need them back. Well, you know what? It's a good question, because the little sound pad that I had on my right has disappeared. I wonder if somebody's nicked it. Can we get voice notes back by tomorrow, Pooch, do you think?
Yeah, no one's sending them in, though.
Oh, we need you to send them in. I mean, that's the other thing. And one of the reasons that we didn't do an awful lot of them was an awful lot of the ones that did get sent in were basically like this. I'm just sending you a voice note to see if it works, which is fine, but obviously we'd rather you sent us voice notes with your opinions. You've been great today because you've done all the things that we've asked you to do. We asked you to get us to 5.5 thousand likes, and we have. We've now got 5.6 thousand likes. We said if we got to 5.5 thousand, we would keep the heron. You might notice that he's moved a bit closer to me over here, so he's trying to cozy up to me and influence my vote. If it gets to 6,000, we're going to get rid of it. So you've got another half an hour to do that, if you wish. 5.6 thousand to 6,000, and then we'll get rid of it. We're going to be listening in a moment to Trevor Phillips talking about the situation regarding Lord Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein. A big story on the front pages of all the papers this morning. We're also going to talk to a reverend, the pastor Mark Burns, who is, of course, a great supporter of Donald Trump, the president. We'll get from him what he thinks about the state of play in the United States of America at the moment, how Donald Trump is getting on, what's happening with Iran, what's happening with China, and maybe even a bit on the Epstein papers as well, because, of course, an awful lot of American citizens caught up in all of that. Donald Trump says he's been exonerated as a result of some of this stuff coming out. So we'll talk to him in a minute. Just a quick run through some of the front pages. Mandelson all over a lot of them. New Epstein victim. I was sent for sex with Andrew. It says on the front page of the Times. Andrew in new Epstein legal threat. Claims he exploited second woman, then took her for tea at the palace, says the Daily Mail. Disgraced Mandelson quits Labour, obviously before he was pushed. The Telegraph goes with Mandelson faces order for Epstein evidence. They've also got a bizarre story where it says that the countryside is going to become less white in a rural diversity drive. Apparently, according to the Department of the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, they want to attract more minorities to the countryside, including the Chilterns and the Cotswolds, which seems like a pretty mad idea to me. Also, this will come as no surprise to you. It turns out that Britain is going to be the biggest spender on benefits in the G7 within the next few years. Analysis by the Telegraph of Office for Budget Responsibility data shows that the UK is on track to spend 2.2% of GDP on incapacity and disability benefits towards the end of the year. And one of my, I say favourite stories of the day, but one of I think the most important stories of the day, front page of the Times, a Times investigation has found out what I've been saying to you for a very, very long time, and that is that the Labour government is lying to you about NHS waiting list figures and much else besides, because apparently they're spending £3 million a month to basically remove patients from waiting lists to make it look like the health service is treating more people than it actually is. Sir Keir Starmer and Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, have repeatedly highlighted Labour's success in cutting the number of patients waiting for treatment, which they say has fallen by about 300,000 since Labour came to power. Well, it hasn't, because they've just taken their names off the lists. In the same way that when they said that basically they were making more appointments, 5 million more appointments we've made. Well, no, they haven't. They've made more appointments, yes, but nobody's actually being seen. Because what happens is they make an appointment and then they cancel the appointment. And then they make another appointment. And then they cancel that one. And by that measure, they've already made 2 appointments they didn't keep. So when you look at that, and so an awful lot of people say they've had 4 appointments and still not been seen by anyone, at the end of the day, that means 4 million appointments if you make it for 1 million people, don't you? I mean, that's the thing. Absolutely and utterly ridiculous. Prime Minister wants to rewind freedom Brexit gave us, front page of the Daily Express. Bring justice for Epstein victims, Andrew and Mandelson told. And here's a big one on Peter Mandelson. JP Morgan should threaten the UK over bankers' tax. And this is what Mandelson apparently told Epstein to tell JP Morgan. Absolutely incredible stuff. Talking of Mandelson, just before we go to Pastor Mark Burns, let us have a look at Trevor Phillips. He is, of course, a Sky TV presenter. He does a show every Sunday. He made this cri de coeur about what he described as his good friend, Lord Mandelson.
Welcome to Sunday Morning with Trevor Phillips. Peter Mandelson and I met for the first time almost exactly 50 years ago on a march protesting against apartheid. It's no secret here in Westminster that over the following 3 decades, he and I worked together, first as student activists, then as television journalists, and as elected politicians. He's appeared more than once on this programme. We were, and are still, friends. His political career was long and illustrious. Mine was brief and disastrous. It's a friend's privilege to tell you that you are ill-suited to a role, even that you are a complete idiot. 20 years ago, Peter was honest enough to make it clear to me that my lack of tact and distaste for compromise meant that I'd be better suited to journalism than party politics. I have not spoken personally to Lord Mandelson about the release this weekend of documents, messages, photographs and videos related to the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. He was invited to join us this morning, but declined. However, he has told this programme that neither he nor his husband, Ronaldo Avila da Silva, has any record or recollection of receiving payments in 2003 or 2004, or knows whether the documentation is authentic. He does accept that Ronaldo received a loan of $10,000 from Epstein whilst he, Mandelson, was a senior cabinet minister. And he acknowledges that in the same period, Epstein was amongst those who lobbied him on important policy matters. There's no suggestion that Lord Mandelson's done anything unlawful. But I would claim the friend's privilege to tell Peter that he has been, at best, naive and foolish, at worst, greedy and duplicitous. Whatever is true, as far as politics and public office are concerned, For Peter Mandelson, this is the end. The question now is whether the price of his misjudgment is to be paid only by the man himself, or whether those who trusted him and elevated him to the peerage and to one of the highest diplomatic posts available should also share in his ignominy.
Yeah, I mean, some people might say Trevor Phillips is slightly under-egging it there, saying that, at worst, it's a misjudgment. I think perhaps at worst it's probably a lot worse than a misjudgment, but we shall see. Trevor Phillips is talking garbage, says Simon. Well, I think you probably get a lot of people agreeing with that. Why would Trevor Phillips make this public announcement? Is he now Mandy's mouthpiece? I certainly wouldn't be in a hurry to admit that I was a friend of Lord Mandelson's under the circumstances, because that's almost as bad as saying you're a friend, I would have thought, of Jeffrey Epstein, which of course is what Mandelson was. That is the problem. So much more to do. We've got 5.9 thousand on the old likes button. We said if we got it to 6,000, the heron would be gone. He's there, looking at me, making me feel guilty. Don't know. We'll have to take a view on that. But if it gets to 6,000, he's gone. He's a goner. It's got to be. Now, let's talk to Pastor Mark Burns. He is, of course, in the United States of America, Trump's top pastor, labelled by Time magazine. He's in South Carolina, a place that I used to visit on a regular basis when I lived in America. Pastor Mark, a very good morning to you and welcome to the Mike Graham Show.
No.
No. What does he mean? When you say no, is he not hearing me?
Yeah, he's hearing you.
Is he hearing me? Pastor Mark, are you okay? Is he praying? Pastor Mark, what's he doing?
I don't know.
Pastor Mark, are you receiving me? Not quite sure what's going on here. Pooch, any ideas?
No ideas. I'll get sharp. Oh, there he is.
I got the audio.
Hey, are you hearing me?
Hey, I can now, yes.
Oh, good man. My apologies. I wasn't sure. I thought perhaps you were in a conversation with the Lord or something. Very good morning and welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
Good to see you. Plenty to talk about this morning. I mean, you are labelled by Time magazine as Trump's top pastor. How's it all going over there? What are you making of what people are saying about Donald Trump and how the White House is running everything?
Well, I mean, we're doing exactly what President Trump promised he would do. Again, this is promises made, promises kept. I just spoke to the president yesterday, and I can tell you everything is moving exactly to plan. Obviously, his goal is to get the war of Ukraine over with. There's so many people that are dying over there. And again, we spoke highly of how that is happening. And of course, he's leading the way to make that happen. But there's several obstacles, but we're close to the end, as the president's made it very clear. We're very close to getting that evil Putin war done and finished with. So the president is doing exactly what he promised to do. Jobs are up, economy is up. This is exactly what he ran on, and this is what he will accomplish.
Yeah. So, I mean, as a supporter of the president, and as you say, you speak to him on a regular basis, you'd say things are going pretty well for him.
Well, absolutely. I mean, again, this is why he won a second term, even though the mainstream media and Joe Biden's DOJ threw everything they can to stop this man from running for president, trying to, raiding his home, trying to arrest him, putting him in court, changing the laws so that they could throw the whole justice book at him. And yet the American people saw right through the Biden and Democrats' plan to block Donald Trump from becoming the next president. The people spoke, and that's why he won the re-election and why he's doing so well as the 47th president of the United States of America.
And the next stage, I guess, of his international diplomacy will be Iran. You know, we were watching overnight the IRGC, all of the Iranian politicians dressing up in military uniforms, parading around inside the parliament where they don't seem to have very many women, to be honest, basically threatening that there will be some kind of regional war if America does anything militarily. How do you think that's all going to end?
Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, you saw exactly what President Trump and the United States military was able to do in Venezuela, right, with that one-shot fire. The president knows exactly where the supreme leader of Iran is. The United States government knows exactly where he's at. If we wanted to come and get him, we'll come and get him. Those empty threats from Iran are just that, empty threats. The reality is President Trump and the American people stand with the free thinking people of Iran, those who are protesting, those who the government regime, the evil anti-American, anti-Western government of Iran is suppressing, killing violently, killing innocent people, jailing innocent people who's speaking out because they're afraid of their own people. But the reality of it is the cookie is now crumbling in Iran. And Iran would be foolish to think that they could stand up against the might of the United States military. Remember, China threatened the same thing. Russia threatened the same thing if we attack Venezuela, and you saw exactly what happened. Nothing has happened. And it's not the goal of the president to go to war. It's the goal of the president to protect American interests and to protect the innocent lives, and especially our partners who are in that region. And so Iran is clearly pushing their nuclear weapon systems and trying their best to threaten American interests and our partners and allies in that region. The president is very clear that that type of language will not cut it.
And then it's over to China, where Prime Minister Keir Starmer has just been. Donald Trump wasn't that keen on him going there, and he certainly wasn't that keen on Mark Carney going there, but he's going there himself. What's his message going to be to China when he goes?
Well, I mean, again, they're going to have to play ball. I mean, again, this is a trade war. China's got to play ball. I mean, at the end of the day, America is the world superpower. America economy outshines and overshadows China. China, in order for them to survive, even though they may try to disagree, in order for them to survive, they have to do business with the United States of America. And so at the end of the day, they're going to have to come to the table with a realistic number, with a realistic goal, and play ball. Or President Trump has made it very clear he's cutting China off at the end of the day. And we want to see we don't want to see innocent people hurt. We want to see the economy grows, but at the same time, China has to fall in line with the promises that President Trump made to the American people, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, the problem for the UK is that we have a very weak Prime Minister in Keir Starmer, who is a bit of a lapdog to Donald Trump. He tries to keep impressing him, and then he keeps doing things to annoy him because he's weak. And he went to China and basically got nothing in return. In fact, a British company ended up putting hundreds of millions of dollars into an investment project in China. Do you have you ever spoken to the president about what he really thinks about Keir Starmer?
Well, not really. No, it really is a non-factor. We love the UK. We love the British people. But again, this is who you have right now in power. And this is who your prime minister is. And again, it's really a non-factor to us here in the United States of America and what President Trump is doing around the world. Again, the president is declaring a safer world, a safer America is a safer world. A safer world is a safer America. And he is removing the bad actors who have been threatening not just the United States, but also the UK, threatening our partners and allies in those regions. So the president is more so focused on, I remember saying one time, Mr. President, I think, and this is my opinion, especially in Africa, and that we have, the United States of America, have been walking around as a mouse when in reality we are an elephant. And we are reminding the world that we, the United States of America, we are an elephant. This is not Joe Biden or Barack Obama's United States of America. This is President Donald Trump and we, the people of the United States of America, to form a more perfect union. United States of America. So I obviously we're not pushing war. And when people hear me talk like this, they say, "You're pastor. Why you sound like you are for war?" I'm not for war. I'm for peace. But as the great President Ronald Reagan declared, we have to have, and President Trump has echoed, we have to have peace through strength.
Yeah, and I was in America when Ronald Reagan was president. I used to live in New York in those days, and that was quite a country. And he used to talk about America being the shining sepulcher on the hill for the world, which it was really in those days. And I would like that to be the case again.
Well, absolutely. Again, that's what the American people want. That's what the American people, they saw that we were not being respected around the world. People were not respecting our military. They were not respecting our wishes, which is why Russia annexed Crimea without a shot, which is why Russia attacked Ukraine and been bombing Kyiv. All of this would not have happened had President Trump been president. They respected President Trump. And now this is not President Trump's war. It is not America's war, but we also know that the evil that is happening to the Ukrainian people must stop. We cannot keep allowing little children to be killed. Listen, 20,000 missing children right now as missing and been kidnapped by the Russian military. This is why this week, coming up February the 5th, I'm hosting an event called Freedom Has a Name, and it's called Ukraine at the U.S. Capitol. And so we're hoping that President Zelensky come to speak in person at the U.S. Capitol. This is under the Spiritual Diplomats, spiritualdiplomats.org for those who want to learn more about it, because we have spiritual diplomats all over the world who are working behind the scenes to try to bring peace around the world. And we're doing that in the DRC. We're doing that in obviously in Ukraine. And then, of course, you have Pakistan and India, Cambodia and Tibet. There's so much conflict that is happening around the world. Israel, all of that is happening around the world. The Gaza, we're trying to bring peace, and we're supporting President Trump's initiative to do just that. Which, again, let me say on record, he deserved that Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, maybe you'll get it one day. You never know. Let me ask you about the Epstein files as well, because we've got a guy here called Lord Mandelson, who was ambassador to Washington D.C. until relatively recently. According to a story I'm reading this morning in the newspapers here, he's going to be summoned to give evidence before Congress on his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. It sounds as though the House Oversight Committee want him to come and tell them what he knows, because it seems as though he, who was sacked basically by Keir Starmer as ambassador some weeks ago, has now had to resign from the Labour Party, is now in complete and utter disgrace. There's clearly a massive problem with these Epstein files. I know Donald Trump has said yesterday that the latest cash seems to exonerate him, and I mean, I'm not sure whether lots of the stories that are told about Donald Trump's knowledge of Epstein and his time with him are fake. He says they are. A lot of people do. The Clintons have been asked to appear before Congress and they've refused. I mean, what are people saying there about these files?
Well, I mean, the reality of it is clear that the Clinton had a very strong relationship with the Epstein himself and the so-called Epstein files. President Trump has been exonerated many, many times. I mean, the reality of it is, you got to remember, he kicked out Epstein out of his club, right? The Epstein could not come. Again, the president was a part of one of the reasons why Epstein was brought down. And so for people to keep trying to connect him to this island and connect to the heinous evil crimes that this evil predator was doing is absolutely unfounded and untrue. But the reality of it is Epstein and others like Bill Clinton are very much involved and have been very much, according to the records, allegedly been very much involved in some of these heinous crimes. And it's not President Trump. And so, again, the American people saw right through this, but we want to see the Epstein files. We want to see all evil players who are actually guilty be brought to justice. And again, as we say in the church world, what's done in the dark shall always come to the light. And that's what we see playing out right now here in America. So people are divided, but those who support the United States of America and support President Trump know without a doubt there's been too much evidence that comes out that exonerate President Trump from any of this Epstein foul mess. This man has been a leader and has not preyed on any type of innocent people, as some others who have in America and Britain, who was well known for having been involved with predatory relationships with some of this trafficking of young women and young girls.
It is extraordinary. And what's your view, Pastor, about Andrew? I don't want to call him Prince Andrew. He's not called that anymore. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. I mean, I think he's brought massive shame on the royal family. There's another woman now who says that she came to London. We don't know if it's true because you can't really pin it down, but she came to London for a sexual encounter with him in one of the royal palaces. I mean, this is terrible stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, listen, I want to give a shout out to my dear friend Daphne, who's reporting broke this thing through right here in America. She's a dear friend of mine, her and her husband.
Daphne Barak.
Daphne, that's right.
Yeah, I know Daphne.
And so Daphne broke this story wide open, and I'm proud of her, and I'm happy that, again, this evil that Andrew was doing has been brought to light. He does not deserve the title of prince. His sole job was to live an upstanding life, an outstanding life, to represent the British people, to represent the British royal crown, and to do it with dignity and integrity. But instead, he used it for his own self-growth and his own self-power. And people like him need to be off the street. So I'm disgusted with Andrew's actions, things that have come out to light, and I'm very grateful of His Majesty's actions and the Crown's actions towards Andrew and stripping him from his titles and even kicking him out of his house. He doesn't deserve to be there. And so I'm thankful for Daphne for doing that. And again, we hope more and more of these evil things come out to the light so that you can make it more difficult for evil people like that to prey on innocent people around the world.
Indeed. I wanted to mention a good friend of yours and mine, James Whale. You used to appear on his show many times, late night on Talk. He died sadly last year. He was an amazing broadcaster, an incredible man, very brave. I was lucky enough to spend a lot of time with him in the final kind of days of his life, and he was brilliant. I've got to say that, and I've got to tell this story because it sort of sums him up. Myself and my boss then went to see him with our good friend Jeremy Kyle. We went to see him in his hospice where he was, spending his last days effectively. And my boss, Denny, had a sort of leather bracelet, and he took it off and he gave it to James, and he said, "This has brought me good luck throughout my life, and so I'm bringing it to you now, and I want you to put it on, and it will bring you good luck." And James died literally about 36 hours later, and his widow came to see us in the office to talk about him and his life and everything else. And she handed the bracelet back to my boss. And she said, "James said to give you this back and to say it didn't work."
That sounds just like James, I tell you. Well, listen, you're absolutely right. That blesses me significantly because, again, I was texting him the day before he passed. The day before I was talking to him, and of course, naturally, like me, my goal is to save as many people as possible. And James said, "I'm not a believer, but thank you for trying." And even on his last day, he was still very jokative. And I don't have my phone right here in front of me, but I wanted to read our last text together. But it blessed me. He was very grateful for our friendship and relationship, and just how much he still loved life, even on his last day on earth. And I found courage in that. I've asked God, if and when my time comes, unless the rapture comes back for those of us who believe that Jesus can come back. But when my time comes, I pray that I have that type of a laughter and joy in my heart, even on my very last day on earth. And James gave me so much strength and courage, and it blessed me. And I still have that text, and I keep it just on WhatsApp, just to remind me of how James was and the love that he had for President Trump and the love that he had for me. And he would constantly be sending me and him and his wife those podcasts, and I would get them and listen to them. And, as he documented his last days on earth, it was so encouraging, and the strength that he showed. And he wasn't afraid. That's another thing, that he hadn't seen no fear, at least to me. I can't speak for you. You were closer. And I can't speak for Ash and others who was there and his wife. But to me, he showed no fear. And that gave me strength and it gave me courage. Even though I was supposed to be encouraging him, he was encouraging me.
Totally. And finally, Pastor, this has been a great interview. People are loving you. We must do it more often if we can. Britain is in a bit of a bad way at the moment. It's in a pretty poor place. You know, people are struggling. You know, costs for everything going up. Cost of living's going up. Unemployment's going up. We've got a terrible government. Can I ask you a favour? Could you say a prayer for Britain just before we go?
Absolutely. Father God, in the name of Jesus Christ, Lord, we come together standing in agreement to every Briton that is watching this broadcast. We believe in your word, Lord, that you are the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And it is you who said that I've come not that you might have life, but you may have life more abundantly. And so, God, we're asking you now to disperse and to distribute your abundance on Britain right now in the name of Jesus. Those that are looking for jobs, that they may find jobs. Those that are looking for pay raises, that they may get the pay raises. Those that are struggling from check to check may begin to have an abundance of flow. And Father, if it be your will, raise up another leader in Britain that believes in the power of economy, that believes in giving back to the people and raising up the might and power of the UK government, oh Lord, that money and wealth may come to every person that is listening to this broadcast, that is watching this broadcast, even in their health, in the name of Jesus, that they may be healed in their bodies. And those relationships that have been broken, let them be mended. Lord, they know what you need. And so thank you for this opportunity to share this word of the Lord Jesus Christ right here on this wonderful, amazing show. Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to do this. Now we speak blessings over Britain in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. It is so. Amen. It is so.
It is so indeed. Pastor Mark Burns, brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us and taking the time. I know it's not a very hospitable hour there at the moment, but I really appreciate talking to you. Must do it again. We must catch up very, very soon. And give our regards to President Trump, please, from us.
I sure will. I sure will. God bless you, Charlotte. God bless you all. Thank you all.
Thank you very much indeed. Pastor Mark Burns there. What a man, what a character, and what a brilliant way to end the show, because we have sadly reached the end of the show. The bad news is we've got 6.3 thousand likes on the show, which I'm afraid means it's the end for the heron, posing as a heron. Donald McLeod's asking for a reprieve. He's asking for an appeal. I'm not sure we can grant that, I'm afraid. Pooch is just coming to remove the said heron. Cheerio. It's been nice knowing you. It's going in the scrap heap, I think. But we'll try and do something to save it. I don't know, maybe we can save the heron tomorrow. Let me just finish with the live poll, which is now running on the chat. Sleaziest UK public figure. Is it Peter Mandelson? Is it Andrew Mountbatten Windsor? Is it Hugh Edwards? Is it Matt Hancock? The winner, ladies and gentlemen, by some chalk, some measure, is Lord Peter Mandelson with 53%, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor 26%. Both of them now being sought, it would seem, by congressional committees in the United States of America. Hugh Edwards, 15%, it's graceful, and Matt Hancock, only 6% for him. So I guess he's got something that he can claim is a win. Final super chat from Red Black. I'll adopt the heron for my super chat money if you reach 6,000 likes. Well, we've already gone over that. Great migrants in the countryside. Yeah, I can't say that word on here. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to. Listen, thank you very much indeed for listening. Thank you for watching. For all of you who took part in the super chats, brilliant. For all of you who took part in the poll, also brilliant. I can't remember how many people voted, but I think it was well in excess of about 7,000 or 8,000. So good, well done for that. Save the crane, says Lord Viking. Yeah, well, maybe we will. Just checked on Google, says Donald McLeod. Yeah, I think we did this. He says you can't get rid of it. That's a shabby way to treat a present that's lit up the studio. Well, we'll see about that. We may have an appeal process that we can do. We'll be back, of course, tomorrow from 7 a.m. Every single day now from 7 to 9:30 or thereabouts. We're actually at 9:37, so you've got another bonus 7 minutes. Lots more to do. I'm going to be recording the Trigonometry podcast later on this afternoon, so that'll be out at some point soon as well, with Constantine Kissin and Francis Foster. Looking forward to that. And I'll also be making sure that we get some of the biggest guests and the greatest guests, thanks to Charlotte, and the greatest production, thanks to Pooch. We'll see you tomorrow. And remember, never forget, despite the fact that there's loads of them, do not be a plank.
Remember, despite all of the others out there, it's always the others. Don't be a plank.